What is going on, everybody? It is episode 259 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. You read that right in the title. We have a very special guest in the studio today. Lady to my left, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I am VARA Dark. I run a YouTube channel called VARA Dark Titan Enterprises. I am a gaming live streamer and entertainment commentator.
Yes, you are. And yesterday I said VARA Dark Enterprises because I was having the worst day of my entire life as far as, I kid you not, there was literally no worse day for me. I was like, I was not talking or saying pretty much anything.
Hopefully your brain has turned back on today, but if it hasn't, we'll make up for where it falls short. Okay,
Hopefully.
Brett?
That is what it's about. That's what friendship is about, guys.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
How you doing?
Doing good.
Doing good?
Excited.
Excited?
Thank you for being here.
We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. And the funny thing is yesterday when we talked about Wonder Woman and what was coming up with James Gunn, with Patty Jenkins, I was worried because I knew this was something that hopefully I would want Vera to be able to talk about on stream. And luckily, as we tend to know, the information comes out for stuff like this. It comes out in waves, so a bunch of stuff all comes out at the same time. We ended up having more than we thought we would have to talk about coming through through James Gunn, through all of these other people at DC. So we've got Patty Jenkins is walking away from Wonder Woman 3. She just didn't want to rewrite the script, the treatment. We're also going to talk about Avatar, which will be pushing environmentalism and colonialist propaganda, or should we say anti-colonialist propaganda. We are also going to talk about the Game Awards and the amazing twisting, winding tale about the guy who just randomly walked up on stage at the very end of the stream at the end of the last award. There's a
surprising rabbit hole to be explored there, which we discovered just before the show started, actually. No, so I'm excited.
That's the funny part. Is like you guys kept talking about it, and like more would happen. You're like, but wait, there's more.
Yes.
So we've got that. We are also going to talk about a band in the UK named. The band
no longer named Slaves, now named Soft Play.
Soft Play, which is, I can't think of a worse name to change yourself to, but they bent the knee, and I've got some commentary specifically that I want to talk about in relation to the fact that I thought that their explanation for the band name was fantastic back in the day, but because it's 2022, you have to bend the knee instantly. Mm-hmm. So we are going to discuss that, and we are going to talk about the recent trend in horror movies being made out of children's tales. There's some analysis in this article, and there's a trailer for the new basically it's a Grinch horror movie that comes out today, so we're gonna watch the trailer for that, and then we got a bunch of other stuff. So if you ladies are ready, we will just get right into it. Mary, are we ready?
We are ready. How about you?
I am ready.
All right,
but first
so I do want to address this before anything. So yesterday I did make a point of when we talked about, it was 2 days ago that we talked about Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes.
Right. So 2 days ago Jennifer Lawrence claimed that she was the first girl ever to be in an action movie, you know,
to lead an action movie, and now she's followed up on her stupid wording of her take on this, and told the Hollywood Reporter the following. Yeah. That's not what I meant to say at all. I know that I'm not the only woman who has ever led an action film. What I meant to emphasize was how good it feels, and I meant that with Viola to blow past these old myths that you hear about the chatter that you would hear around that kind of thing. Yeah. But it was my blunder and it came out wrong. I had nerves talking to a living legend. That's not what I would call Viola Davis.
She's a pretty big name in acting. Living legend. I mean,
legend.
She will likely go down in history.
It is.
But what I want to point out is that, look, I actually believe, and I know I'm probably in the minority here, I actually believe what she's saying, meaning that this was an interview that wasn't done written, it was spoken, and you speak differently to people than you do typed. When you type things out, your brain unconsciously goes to, is this true or not? Because you're going to be fact checked instantly, and transcript adds a certain effect to the way you discuss things.
That's understandable. Yeah. However, she made that emphasis and said it wrong because she genuinely overestimates her relevance in this industry. And at the same time resents the first role that she got with Hunger Games.
I dislike that she resents like the fact that, you know, it's like musicians who like refuse to play songs that got them famous. I never understood that either.
Misery Business is so sexist.
It is such a good song, and they refuse to play it.
They have a complicated relationship with the song at the very least.
No, they brought that one back.
They brought it back, yes, but they had to make some sort of feminist concession in order to do so.
And then at the beginning of the song, they're like, well, we're just going to sing it because you guys like it.
You're nothing more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it's funny too because it's so tepid and so like it's so not.
And of course, written by a teenager.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah.
So I just wanted to point this out because to me, maybe I'm that guy. I give her the benefit of the doubt. I don't think it's a huge problem. Like a lot of people, when they talk, they are hyperbolic in a way that is, yes, you don't realize maybe as you're doing it that this is going to go out and be scrutinized. And let's face it, Variety picked that quote for a reason. Right?
Well, not really, because when they originally tweeted it and it was getting ratioed to hell, they realized they had to delete it to save Jennifer Lawrence's reputation, which is why they reposted it in a more flattering light. So they're still kind of running damage control for her.
And this is kind of is the gaming industry the same way? Like the journalists are now there to protect the elites rather than to protect the gamers. They're not there to inform the customers or to be on the side of the everyday person. They're there to back up the whatever's being said by the people in the head of the companies or the big name actors, the people that are in charge of these businesses.
Well, every journalist wants to be an activist now, which is the major problem.
Well, that's because we need to push forward on my goal that you need to make activism lame. You need to make these people feel
activism embarrassing again.
Yes.
Like you should not brag about being an activist. You should cringe. Like you should cringe.
Well, we'll get into that later with some news about the Game Awards.
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna start today with more DC news, which I'm always hesitant to do because it's a dumpster fire. It's an absolute dumpster fire that tends to go all over the place as far as the information. But right now, what we know is that there's every bit the possibility that Wonder Woman 3 will move forward. It will just move forward without Patty Jenkins. Mm-hmm. So basically, she brought in a treatment. From what I understand, a treatment, not a script. They're not the same thing. A treatment is basically like you have the basic outline and ideas of all the events and characters that are going to happen in the movie, but the dialogue is not written. And they basically said Pamela Abdi and the other one who are in charge now over there at Warner Discovery said, we would like you to rewrite aspects of this. And she said, no. Mm-hmm. She said no.
She gave them the middle finger and stormed out. She's such an alpha female, really. I don't think you're able to handle it.
She's
if you don't deserve her at her Wonder Woman, or what is it? If you can't handle her at her Wonder Woman 1984, you don't deserve her at her Wonder Woman 3.
Right.
No, because the better example would be if you can't
would that be Wonder Woman 2049?
If you can't handle her at her Wonder Woman 1984, you don't deserve her at her Monster. That's the movie she directed. That's the very, very well known. So it says Patty Jenkins allegedly sent an email to Michael DeLuca that ended up with a Wikipedia page with the definition of the word character arc visible. The insider also reported that Patty Jenkins had no intention of heeding James Gunn and Peter Safran's decisions and didn't care about their input. Well, that sounds like the stubborn, bullheaded behavior of a man.
Yes.
I have been told by Hollywood that is man's behavior.
Well, she's probably had to adapt to her personality this way to get along in the industry. I understand why she's being more assertive, but also she might be passing up an opportunity to save her reputation with having ruined Wonder Woman with the second one.
Right.
Here's the thing. A lot of people don't realize that she did not write Wonder Woman 1. That was written by, basically, Zack Snyder did the treatment and the story for that one. And I forget the name of the other gentleman who wrote that movie. Oh, it was Alan Heinberg. Heinberg wrote that movie. And it's far better because it feels far more real to the world they were building
because
at
it
the
was
time.
Written by a man.
Exactly.
That's why it was better.
Well,
clearly.
Women owned.
He was mansplaining.
I'm kidding.
She's not.
Kidding.
She's not. And here's the thing. She's not doing Rogue Squadron anymore.
Right.
Like they pulled her out. I don't know if she got pulled off of Rogue Squadron, but remember, she made a big deal. She's like, my dad was a pilot.
Actually, it sounds like from what we know, there were creative differences.
See, that's what it sounds
it's
like.
Always creative differences.
It seems like that's a running theme with her lately.
If your example of My Way or the Highway is Wonder Woman 1984, where she basically R-words a dude, like you're off to a bad start here. Like she doesn't have.
I mean, I haven't seen it yet, so I mean, I don't know.
So
if that's
basically, what happens is Wonder Woman's boyfriend gets put into a body, and then someone
Not
else.
her real boyfriend. 'Cause
Right.
Her real boyfriend is
Not her real boyfriend. Her.
Steve Trevor is
Yes,
dead.
he is dead. It's kind of hard to explain.
I tried to explain it the other day, and I was like, that is really convoluted. But basically,
I'll have to watch it to understand in full.
The magical MacGuffin gives you like the thing you've always wanted or whatever, and what she always wanted is to have her boyfriend back. And so basically, some random guy that she doesn't know becomes Steve Trevor, and she totally does him. And this dude becomes Steve Trevor. He's not in control of his own mind.
He becomes him inside, but not on the outside.
He becomes. She sees him as Steve Trevor.
She sees him as that.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
And she definitely does
That's
him.
questionable.
Yes, it is very questionable. But they make a highlight in the movie of them doing it and them having a great time together. They even have like a wardrobe scene where she's dressing him up and is like, I like you in this outfit and that outfit, and it's very creepy. It's very
just imagine the roles reversed.
Yeah,
of course, that's what we always say. Like the hypocrisy, the double standard. But they're still gonna do it.
So
they're still gonna do this stuff.
Here's the thing: what I've realized, like, if this news is gonna come out constantly, James Gunn, who's not exactly known for his social media, like, tepidness, he's very, very kind of, he implodes sometimes on social media.
He does,
and he's going to have to be next level masterful.
Well, this thread that he posted on Twitter, which is quite long, and I'm not going to read all of it, is sort of like attempting to spit on a bonfire to put it out.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of people who are angry at him. I think it's quelled some worries, and people are more trusting of him now. But he, at the end of this thread, said, "We're giving these characters and the stories the time and attention they deserve, and we ourselves still have a lot more questions to ask and answer."
Yep.
He said also, everything we do is done in the service of the story and in the service of the DC characters we know you cherish and have cherished our whole lives. So, in service of Wonder Woman, we have canceled Wonder Woman.
He was told
Thumbs up.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
He was told that he was not allowed to touch the Batman 2, he was not allowed to touch the Joker 2, he was not allowed to touch Wonder Woman 3, and he was not allowed to touch Superman, J.J. Abrams' Superman. But they've pulled the plug on those, as far as I know. Anyways, there hasn't been any movement on the ill-fated J.J. Abrams what would that be? A Val Zod Superman, Superman movie, which no one.
Are you saying he was told this directly by Zaslav?
No, I'm saying that the Calvin Ellis Superman movie has not moved forward as far as I know.
No, it is not. Apparently, he gave them a script or like a rough outline of a script, and they did not like it.
Imagine how like good it must be to be J.J. Abrams, where you just do no work and get like $200 or $400 million.
So many movies over and over.
Like he is. They gave him like $400 million or something to develop movies in like 2019. And that's produced exactly 0 movies. Like that must be nice.
They're producing a game and he's overseeing the game as well.
It's so funny because he branches out. And remember he did the Spider-Man comic with his son?
Yes.
Was that was that Joss Whedon? It was
I
one of those. I thought it was J.J. Abrams.
think it's JJ.
His son like did a Spider-Man novelty comic and did the writing for it. It was really, really bad from what I understand. But those are always
nepotism.
Yeah, but
Yes.
nepotism. So he's going to have to build like I feel for James Gunn, because imagine being in charge of this many disparate elements that are all floating around, egos galore on every single one of them, each one of these egos with their own fan base that wants everything to revolve around them, whether we're talking about The Rock, whether we're talking about Zack Snyder. You know, obviously we don't know how far he's going to be involved in this. In fact, my idea is they should just give him Wonder Woman. Just give Zack Snyder Wonder Woman and let him
that
make,
would be good.
Like it would
let
be
the
very,
so-called Snyder bots have one last hurrah.
and
then kick them to the curb.
Look, the reason the first Wonder Woman movie worked is because the tone kind of contradicted the fish out of water charm that Gal Gadot brought to that role.
Yes.
And having that again, granted, you won't have the same fish out of water story that you had before. I can see him handling it, and he handles the action stuff far better. And maybe he won't be allowed to male gaze, so he won't be forced to do as much gratuitous slow-mo as he always does. That's my one complaint, is there's always way too much slow-mo. My favorite being the fruit stand in Justice League, which spends like 3.5 minutes. I watched it the other night because it's like I love Batman vs Superman, the extended edition. And I liked the Snyder cut of Justice League, but it's like 4.5 or 5 hours long.
Yes.
I don't have the time of day to watch all of that over and over again. But I was like, were those scenes as bad as I remember? Because it makes sense, even though I think they could have skipped the entirety of Bruce Wayne's origin story in Batman vs. Superman. You really don't need crashing fruit stands in the Justice League movie. So maybe if he can't zoom in on Gal Gadot like creepily, he will refrain from doing his super slow-mo thing all the time.
Yes.
So, like, he's got a lot of work to do. He's got a lot of work to do that I don't. He canceled apparently the Michael. They were planning or wanted to do a Michael Keaton Batman Beyond, which I would have loved.
That is so sad.
Yeah.
That is tragic that they canceled that.
I've been going in between, like, back and forth between Batman the Animated Series and Batman Beyond on the weekends, like when I can. Not last weekend, but like every other weekend I go back to watch some of the animated movies and the animated shows. And they're like, there's a Babylon Bee meme that says the society finally admits that Batman the Animated Series was the peak of civilization. It kind of was. Like, you would be surprised in a society that now makes fun of like activism and social messaging, how much like anti-corporate discussion is had in the first season of Batman the Animated Series. It's kind of fascinating how good it was done, considering it was made for kids.
Yeah, it was so good. I mean, people to this day talk about it and rave about it, and there's a reason.
Kind of like X-Men '97. Though
Yes.
I don't have as much history with that. I was more of a DC guy. Caper2X will be in the chat now, calling me names
DC
for
fanboy.
telling me that.
I was always quite the DC fangirl.
Yep. Oh, by the way, guys, she's here to defend me.
Yes, I will to the death.
She likes Ben Affleck as Batman, so that's
I
two.
love Ben Affleck as Batman.
Dane is in the chat
Dane
right now, just seething and
He
coping
is
so
so
hard.
good, and it's so sad that he's gone. At least for now. Maybe we will get lucky, but I don't think so.
Before we went on air today, earlier in the day, I was thinking about it, and it's a revelation that's kind of come to me before, but I thought about how DC really did pull off one of the most incredible, what do they say, like snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Basically, or snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. They perfectly casted their entire Trinity as well as Aquaman. All of those casting decisions were met with extreme enthusiasm, except for Ben Affleck, who later proved he might be the most divisive, but I still think perfectly cast.
I agree.
To mess that up that badly when you have casting that good is shocking, and proof of just how bad the corporate level interference was for all of those productions. Like, if Marvel could get their casting that right all the time, they would have even more money than they already do. But they kind of, what it is they rely on both the general fan base, right? The people that don't just love those characters, they love Marvel as a whole. Most people don't, I feel like, don't feel that same way about DC. They feel about specific characters. Because those
specific actors as those characters. People feel strongly about Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, not just Wonder Woman.
Well, also those characters in general, because of how far they've, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman really are, outside of Spider-Man and now I guess Iron Man, but that's even a late comer to such popularity. It's almost harder to do that because people hold it, like, if you're taking a character that nobody knows about, and this is why I think James Gunn loves it, because he can take a bunch of characters that nobody knows about, and if it doesn't work, that's no loss. People take it a lot more personally when you don't pull off these amazing characters.
But this is the time to make big wins. Yeah. If the game plan is to get new fans of the DCU and not just draw the hardcore comics fans into the theaters, then you need to show some loyalty to the flagship characters and not the so-called D-listers and C-listers.
I think that they need to balance better, because I feel at this point, I feel like Marvel's been trying to push these new characters a little bit more, new to the big screen, but I feel like they need to balance much better on the DC side of things.
I loved Peacemaker. I loved Peacemaker. Yes. I loved James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie. I loved that movie. It's not my general tone.
I really liked it. Yeah. I thought that it had a couple of small issues, but I thought that overall it was pretty good, and Peacemaker was very good.
What didn't you like about?
I don't know. I just felt like the balance of the characters was a little bit off.
Meaning they gave more attention to some than others. Script size, set with that many actors, it's going to fall between.
Yes.
Most likely, it's even possible that more people. There's a lot of shots of all of them, but a lot of it gets left on the cutting room floor just because you're going to give more time to John Cena and Idris Elba,
right?
Because they're bigger names. That's like I mentioned the other day. I was like, I rewatched the X-Men the other weekend, and they were talking about how they gave Halle Berry more time in X-Men 2 than 1 because she just won her Oscar for Monsters Ball.
That's
or
right.
whatever. So they increased her screen time. So John Cena, who was just cast in the Fast and the Furious movie, likely had increased screen time because they were coming out around similar period. So like I said, I still don't know if I buy James Gunn as a studio executive. I trust him as a creative doing his own stuff, even if it's not my stuff completely, but he's an unproven commodity as far as his ability to do backroom deals and organize these things. And
I'm very worried about what is actually going to happen under his leadership now, because I do have to agree. I think that as a creative, he's got a lot of great ideas and he's good at executing what he wants to do. But
yeah, and he's got enough of an ego and enough credit to be given that platform and not really interfered with as much.
Was Peter Safran also brought on to help in that side of things?
He's a pure producer,
side of things?
I believe. He's pure producer.
Yes.
So he would be more money and organization side of things. So maybe the idea is that James Gunn is the focus. It also further proves that it takes two people to be Kevin Feige at any one time. Like him or not, and I'm not a fan of the way
he's a powerhouse.
Yeah, I mean that's a rare skill set. Imagine like being a guy who somehow grew up loving a certain type of comic book, but also decided to get into the world of corporate executive, and then get like the perfect job that was basically designed for you.
I mean, he's good at it.
I don't know if they. I mean, they tried it with Jeff Johns, didn't really work. Walter Hamada was a studio executive, not necessarily a comic fan exclusively.
Not at all.
Good horror producer though. He does a lot of good horror movies.
And that's what he's going to be focusing on going forward
at Paramount. Yeah. He's moved on over to Paramount.
Yes.
So
I think that there's a bright side to Patty Jenkins walking away, though. They could replace her with someone better. A new
who's
script.
That?
Taylor Swift.
Ah, yes. Guys, this is what's going on. So Taylor Swift just recently got they mentioned it in the Hollywood Reporter today that she's going to develop her first full-length feature film, because of course she is. And you know what?
She's only worked on music videos so far, though. So she's about to write her own script and direct her own movie.
I am not convinced.
Official now with Searchlight Pictures. Now, some people are saying it's awfully coincidental that this announcement is made just as Patty Jenkins walks away from Wonder Woman 3. Could Taylor Swift make a better version of it?
I don't know.
Or worse?
I like this one that says, what if Taylor Swift takes a hard left and directs the next installment of the Saw franchise? we could do that. Funny. I mean, or she does it and it's just all music. It's all montages to her music.
That's what I had said earlier. What if she goes in a completely different direction and she decides to do like horror films and she decides to do something completely different than what you'd expect?
It's unlikely because Taylor Swift is so self-obsessed and self-indulgent that she can't make anything that's not about her, including the singular short film that she directed with Dylan O'Brien and Sadie Sink. It was still reenacting her and her own relationship with John Mayer. And also casting herself in the victim role, of course. She is addicted to that.
Classic.
So I don't think she's necessarily going to have anything to offer directing a full-length movie that's not
Honestly,
about her.
No. I don't think that she will. I think that maybe we'll see her go in on a project with somebody and she'll be like an executive producer, and that's how she'll kind of test the waters.
No, she's going full hog, like she's writing and directing completely on her own.
Right.
Because
she says that now, but will she
realize how hard
it is?
Right
right behind the scenes, will she realize, oh, I don't think I'm actually equipped to do this job?
Yeah. Let us know what you think, guys. Let us know in the chat.
Do you think that there's going to be a wave of women can't catch a break articles relating to Patty Jenkins leaving this project? They're going to say, if a man had said that he didn't want to rewrite the script, they would have seen it as a virtue.
They would have capitulated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, when you look at the way James Cameron behaves in his business dealings, you can't help but sympathize with her, right?
Well, you know what? Speaking of James Cameron, we might as well just do a hard move to that direction now. We'll wait on the super chats, guys. So James Cameron is not doing anything different for Avatar 2, as we found out. So it says right here that Avatar 2 will feature colonialist and environmentalist propaganda.
There's been some pushback on this, saying like, if you paid any attention to the first movie, you should have known that it would repeat itself in those themes.
Yeah.
And that's what I took away from the first movie as well, even though it's been many years since I watched it.
That was definitely a very big theme in it.
Yeah, the big tech army bros versus the all virtuous, harmonious society of blue cat people who have never done anything wrong.
My favorite part about all these stories like this is he talks about how like his stories have nuance, but they rarely ever in any context show a lot of like detail to the good guys. They're always just just blandly good.
Right.
And the other thing that was funny is we were talking about I was listening to a review of Bullet Train last night, and they were talking about how Brian Tyree Henry's character wouldn't be allowed to be like pure evil, even though most of the people in that movie are extremely self-obsessed and violent. He ends up sacrificing himself at the end because they wouldn't allow the black guy to just be bad, because that's modern Hollywood. And I feel like that's how it is about, they would apply the same logic to anyone involving environmentalism or involving any type of climate change, stuff like that.
Yeah,
So-
it's very bereft of nuance to just call that mineral unobtainium in the first place. That should have stuck with the audience. But I think that the fact that some people are surprised about propaganda coming from the sequel, which we're going to see soon, it just shows that they were too distracted by the 3D and the special effects and the blue people and all of the vibrant colors in the first movie to notice it. It was right under their noses.
Well, also, like, for something like this, for this movie to make the amount of money that they're talking about, it has to have insane word of mouth. They're predicting 200 million for the opening weekend. I was like, I don't know if you know how far away 200 million is from 2 billion, but that's like a really long distance down the road.
He still hasn't elaborated on what he meant by saying they need to reach 2 billion to break even.
Yeah.
Like, does he mean the third?
He never
Sorry, he means
clarified.
the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth Avatar movie, which he has teased, like 5 and 6.
I feel like it honestly is just for this sequel because
No
of
way.
how much money the first one made and how much they've put into this one.
That means literally everyone and their baby and their mother needs to watch this movie, or it will be a loss.
And I'm pretty excited for Avatar 2. I'm hopeful for it.
I heard you on your stream on Tuesday defending yourself as an Avatar fan.
I like Avatar. I thought that the first Avatar movie was pretty good. It was long, of course. That's the biggest gripe that people have with it. But I thought that it was pretty
Thoughts
good.
on
It
the
was interesting.
bestiality controversies?
No comments.
No comment. I see Common from the Avatar stands. No comments on the controversy.
I thought it was interesting that that they gave production notes to Bounding into Comics, who they would have known was not going to be necessary.
to them.
That they were going to be fair. That they weren't going to. They were going to have their own opinion. They weren't going to take the word of the company and just go with it and say this is going to be great no matter what.
Right.
It says the climate change propaganda is baked into the premise that the Earth is somehow doomed and has become uninhabitable in the decade or so since the film. I love how like they wonder why everyone's so depressed, and then like they make movies like this.
Having a theme like that isn't inherently hopeless.
It is.
Because like think about WALL-E. You know, like that movie showed this dystopian reality where Earth turned into a complete trash heap, and then we had to fly off in this arc away from the Earth, and then we all became obese and stupid.
Yes.
And then, you know, it's still a heartwarming, positive movie,
By the
and
end.
it's appropriate for children. I think that when it comes to a movie like Avatar, though, what bothers me is just the hatred for humanity that's so palpable in the way it's written.
is.
The misanthropy just is way overdone, and you have to side against humanity to sympathize with the good guys. And it's like, I think that's very intentional. And I said this
agree.
before, like how, I mean, it makes me go into like Alex Jones mode where I'm like, I'm a pioneer, I'm a human. Like, I am pro-humanity, and I am not pro-alien blue people.
Well, here, let me push back and give you some hope for this, and it's going to be a very strange example. So I've mentioned this before on the podcast. It's one of my favorite examples of the weirdness of Hollywood, of things that don't normally happen. James Cameron has done exactly one TV show in his lifetime. It was called Dark Angel. He created that show. He only directed one episode, but the plot, the premise, all of the characters, those came from him. It's about a genetically modified, she's a mutant. She's a female mutant that can beat everybody up, starring Jessica Alba. And there's a line in the very beginning, like literally the first scene in the show, because it takes place in a dystopian Seattle. And one of the lines says, one of the things I don't understand is why they call it a depression. I mean, everybody's broke, but they're not really all that depressed. And the point there is that even in the hardest of times, the people, come together to kind of get through and survive the fascist regime
and find
that's
something
around
to
them.
hold on to.
So maybe there's the possibility that type of storytelling would bleed through into this movie's storytelling.
I hope so, because I want to be hopeful for Avatar 2. And I hope that they do not take the first movie and crank it up by 100. Because the first movie did definitely have a lot of these very similar underlying themes. But I'm afraid they're going to push it way too much, which I think is the fear with a lot of fans at this point.
Yeah. And
it was also like pushed to a different culture at the time.
It was.
Things have changed a lot since 2009. Like almost a mind-blowing amount. The culture is really different, and Hollywood is really different.
There was still a collective of institutions at that time. There is no faith in institutions anymore. There was a general idea that the population had faith in your universities, had faith in scientists, had faith in this, had faith in that.
Sure.
There's none of that anymore, and everybody's disparate and disconnected. I also found his comments to be a little bit funny, because I'm not sure I buy it, but he says, my tastes are so kind of blue collar in general. They're not esoteric. My personal taste, if I like my movie, I know other people are going to like my movie. It's very simplistic, really, ultimately.
But that's not true.
No, it's not.
Because you like your movie doesn't mean everybody else is going to like your movie.
Also,
said, I don't care if you want to watch Avatar 2. I know you're going to watch it.
It contradicts
when
his
he
previous
says
statements.
things like that, it seems to be in contempt of the audience, or the target audience, which is literally everyone.
Yes.
The entire
everybody
globe
to watch it.
Yeah, and there was this plot line in the first movie where, of course, you have this love story between one of the Na'vi and I forget the name of the main character because it's such a forgettable movie.
The male?
Yeah.
Jake Sully?
Jake Sully, yeah.
Yes.
They have this love story in the movie, and that's sort of to show that they can find unity between the species. I don't think that any of that messaging is going to be evolved in the second one.
I don't think so either. I mean, how are they going to do that? That would be my question.
Yeah, because now he is completely assimilated into their society.
Right. So there's not that love story.
He's renounced his humanity.
Right.
Fully.
Right.
Which is weird. I don't like that. And it's also kind of a cheapened version of Pocahontas.
Honestly,
that's a pretty common comparison.
Yeah.
He said he then noted he would be trying to push the message. He says, we skipped from complete denial of climate change to fatalistic acceptance, and we missed the middle step. The filmmaker's role is not to make it all doom and gloom anymore, but to offer constructive solutions. He also pointed out how he thinks that audiences don't want doom and gloom. No crap.
Right.
But the other thing here is maybe I buy that Terminator and Terminator 2 era James Cameron is blue collar, and that had plenty of commentary about technology and fatalism and stuff like that. I don't know if I buy that it would be, even if it is done the exact same way, it's not going to be received the same way because it's not the same world we lived in the late 80s.
Sure. I mean, even when I recall Titanic, there's this messaging that all rich people are evil.
Yeah.
And poor people are the ones who have hearts.
Mary's most base take is that the husband is not all that bad of a guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was only her fiance then. But
fiance, sorry.
Still, she's cheating and lying. And
she is.
thought that she could get away with it and never speak to Jack again, probably.
Titanic, the movie about a woman cheating on her husband with a homeless guy on a cruise.
Yeah, and then the homeless guy dies? What is
right,
this?
Because she refuses to share the door with him because
I
she
can't
feels
stand
that
Rose.
she's more important. And it's supposed to be, it was a sacrifice.
Yeah.
It was the ultimate love sacrifice.
Well, he didn't want to leave her not holding his hand at that time. You couldn't have held her hand while also on the same door.
Her fiance was not that bad of a guy. He was going to take care of her. Maybe he was kind of a jerk, but like, don't cheat on him. Just break up.
Titanic 2, what would have really happened if he lived?
Somebody should start a company called like Jack Dawson Doors, and they're just extra wide doors that you can sell. They should do that, like, and they float and everything. That'd be great.
That would be
lovely.
So for me, I don't, like I said, I'm dreading this. Any movie over 2.5 hours is automatically in the negative.
It's only the
to start
length
for
that
me.
gets me.
Yeah. So like 3 hours and 10 minutes, like, I find that ultimately extremely presumptuous that you think that I want to sit through 3 hours and 10 minutes of anything anybody makes.
3 hours and 10 minutes of humans are awful and terrible. Watch our movie. Make sure to buy extra popcorn.
Yeah, he's really just doing it for the studio or for the theater so they can make extra money.
Buy more concessions.
Yes.
So
you little worm.
Yes.
He says, this was the other part of the quote that I thought was really funny. He says, I don't worry about it. I don't think anything one does artistically in life should be determined by the trolls and the naysayers. You should just go where you think it makes sense.
Yeah, anyone who disagrees with me or criticizes me, they're a troll
hater
or
and
a bot.
troll.
Also,
that's a good one. True.
But remember, I did like a whole video a long time ago. I don't know if it was how long ago it was, about how bot is the new troll. Like, it's like you just blame everything on bots because it's not provable.
They're
like,
review bombing Avatar too.
But also for this, it's kind of like, does anybody, like, naysayers, sure, but does anybody really care?
So far, they've only gotten positive reviews from critics, which I see as a bit of a red flag. I'm still going to give it a fair chance. But a lot of people see press like this and they're like, okay, I'm done, not going. Because they're like, I don't want to pay money to get guilt tripped. But at the same time, like, don't be mad at a sequel for continuing the theme of the last movie.
People do love new technology, and this was filmed on new camera. They literally built new cameras to make this.
And that is exciting that they created new camera tech, and they're really trying to break boundaries.
But it's not 2009 anymore.
Right,
and
that's
3D
the problem,
isn't new anymore.
Is I don't think that it's going to be as groundbreaking as the first Avatar, and they're going to try to play it off that it is, and people are probably going to see it and go, it's literally Avatar 1.
Is this something you're willing to go see in the theaters? Or are you going to wait?
I haven't decided yet. I am going to see it pretty close to release, though.
This does seem like one that if you're to make the exception to go to a theater, it's probably the one you want to do it for.
Right.
I would literally never watch this at home.
Oh, yeah.
if the hype is around the ability to see it.
Well, because
you'd
you'd be pausing it and, it's 2.5 hours in. I've got to pause it for 10 minutes. I'm so tired. I have other things to do.
Also, I find the idea of any type of environmental propaganda being blue collar really funny. Because blue collar people can't worry about stuff like that because they're too busy working their blue collar jobs. Like, maybe that's just me. Like, it's like, it just doesn't seem like a very blue collar idea. I don't think of anything that level of Hollywood as blue collar. I think of the closest thing you get to blue collar in Hollywood is people who work like network television, where they do 22 to 24 episodes a year and they work constantly. That feels blue collar to me. $250 million budgets or $500 million budgets where you yell at executives to get out of your office is the opposite of blue collar.
Get the F out of my office.
Well, and then telling you that your masculinity is toxic and very, very bad. So the whole movie will just be Navi eating soy and having and avocados.
Soy future.
Yeah.
This is Big Avocado. They're all behind this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They will. Our chat will agree. Big Avocado is probably the reason for most of the things going on.
Speaking of chat, let's go to Superchats. Yesh sent us 99 cents without a message. Potatoes for Seamus did the same. Thank you guys. Riley Lewand said, glad to see Vera on here. Rega Tan said, guess who won Game of the Year? We know. Yeah. We are going to talk about it soon.
Elden Ring.
Rega Tan tells literally all of our guests to play Elden Ring.
You should play Elden Ring. It is
he's
an amazing game.
It
is one of the best games, and everybody should play it.
Rega Tan said, wow, Vera Dark herself. Also, who runs GamerMates? I don't know if we can talk about that yet. No. It's still in development, so you'll have to see for yourself. Yep. Monkey D. Shane said it's pronounced Jar Jar Abrams.
I don't do that, nor do I call him Ruin Johnson. I
think it's funny.
I stick with the regular names.
What is this?
That's Ryan Johnson. That's what they call Ryan Johnson.
Ruin Johnson?
Because he ruined Star Wars.
my favorite meme, one of my
Yeah.
favorite memes that ever came out of that era was the one, it's like Mr. Miyagi with Karate Kid says, don't do karate, just give up. And then it just cuts to the end credits and says, a movie by Ryan Johnson.
Yeah. Bad App said, do you think they'll ever do a Marvel versus DC movie?
That's a horrible
Doubt
idea.
it. That is a horrible idea.
Think of the egos involved in
I
just
think the
a
concept
studio.
is cool, but I don't think anything more than that would be.
Yeah.
How would that even happen? Like, how would the
It
never
power
works.
and money be divided?
Yeah. And it never
It's
works
impossible.
because there's too many egos, and first of all, it's kind of like
Maybe if they took one Marvel character and one DC character, you can't do many.
like Avengers versus
can't do
the Justice
ensemble.
League.
It doesn't work because
Right.
there's too much money behind it, and it's kind of like in pro wrestling where you're not allowed. Like a character is big enough, you don't allow that character to lose.
Right.
You can't let
Right.
Batman
How about Doctor
lose
Fate
to,
versus Doctor Strange?
Yes, they could do, or Shazam versus Shazam. They could do that. So.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Brett, I used to think your glasses were the best ever, but now they're second, only to Miss Vera's glasses. Sorry, Brett, man, but Vera and her glasses rule.
I'm gonna have to get a suggestion so I can get the same pair
Yep.
down the line. Also, like we were here the other day, and my other glasses just broke. Like the thing just literally fell off. I was like doing something, it goes, and I'm like, really,
Well,
really?
that's how it goes. It's
Bad
okay.
Up said T-Swift slasher film where she kills all her boyfriends for breaking her heart.
Yes,
Maybe
that would be
good.
interesting.
Maybe just as a music video, though.
No, what she
Yeah.
does is she gets them with like her writing pen and then uses the blood to write in her notebook where she makes her song lyrics, and that's what the devil. It's infused in the
Why
song
are you
lyrics.
giving her these
It's just
ideas?
Death Note Taylor
You're
Swift
free.
edition.
Yeah, like and like it's like kind of like you make a deal with the devil, right? Like
Right.
all your songs will be hits, but you have to write them with the blood of your ex-boyfriend.
That would be way too close to reality, though. Kenneth Krause said, Mary, your based takes give me hope for our generation. Thanks to y'all so much for making my long days delivering mail that much faster. Also, Brett, Warehouse 13 is definitely my favorite show ever.
Look,
Brett wins.
I love that show. It is so cheesy and awesome, but Eddie McClintock is that lead character. He's even kind of the bumbling, panicky male lead, but not really. He's just so kind of like alpha male, big and handsome that it doesn't work. But the Micah character is a perfect example of how you can do a strong female character well, because she allows herself to be vulnerable. She is good at her job, but she's not invincible.
Right.
And I was like, recently, like, you ever like get attacked with like old story posts or old things you've posted like in your archives?
Yes.
And I posted something a long time ago. They did like a Christmas episode where they're walking into the warehouse and she hits him in the back of the head with like a snowball and giggles. And it's like stuff like that. They would never allow a character to be that sympathetic or polite or friendly or nice nowadays, because they need them to act like men.
Right.
And a guy would not do something like that in a way that was masculine. So
Right.
they would make the guy do it now because it would make him look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't do it in a way that's supposed to be endearing.
Right, of course not, which is just so sad about entertainment now.
It's also a good Warehouse 13, the only show in the world that could get you to order Peacock, to have Peacock on your streaming service.
That was a defeat for you.
That was I finally gave
definitive
in.
turning point
But
in your life.
But I got rid of Disney Plus. I refuse to have Disney Plus and Peacock at
Yeah.
the same time. I will cancel one and get the other. I kept BritBox before I got rid of it.
Why?
Yeah. For Shetland and various other, like, I love their detective dramas and their investigative stories. They have a much drier and calmer sense of storytelling.
Yeah.
That's more that they do a lot more stuff on location that I really, really love as far as the ambiance behind the shows. Shetland is great. You just have to be willing to sit down. It's a slog to get through, but it's very, very fun.
There's too many streaming services.
Way too many.
Way too many.
Mr. Waifu Taker said, watcher of Vera's channel for a year. It's super cool to see her on a podcast for the first time. Going to listen to this over catching up and studying.
Yes.
Very fun.
By the way, and I want to point out for the what Kenneth said before, like, that's the stuff that means the most to me when people say that, like, they listen to it while working or like doing their job. That's like, because that's what this,
Like on road trips,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, shows like this have always. There it is.
Thank you.
It's a Christmas party.
Wow.
Santa Claus and all.
Doesn't
That's
it just get you in the
cute.
spirit of the season?
Wow, that's cute.
It's also fun.
like
You can
that.
now what you can do is, like, you can go
and
to
it's
stores.
snowing money.
You can go to stores and watch people employees get like incrementally more upset as the Christmas music plays for more days at a time.
They hate
like,
it.
I asked a
Mariah
lady.
Carey is thawed and in full force.
I was
Yes.
I was at my doctor earlier today, and he said that they don't play the Mariah. He's like, they won't allow the Mariah Carey
Specifically
songs.
that
Carey.
You have to look up Christmas playlist. No Mariah Carey.
Like I was like, it was like
Why?
the guy's just like he's just
Come
like no.
on.
He's like
It bumps. Don't lie.
It does.
I don't know if he was telling me like this is true. If he was just like spinning yarns. Like when I worked at another office, I didn't want to like I had to listen to that all the time. When I started my own practice, I'm not putting that song on. Like, he could have just been spinning a yarn,
right?
But it was endearing to me. Let's do one more and then we will we'll move on.
Joseph said, "I thought Avatar was good. Climate change versus caring." Wait, what does that mean?
Theme-wise, sure, but now like people are more aware of these themes now than they were.
Right,
at that
and I
time.
think that when Avatar originally released, people were very excited about a new franchise and all the new technology and a lot of just the
let's be
hype
honest.
that
We watched it
surrounded
because it looked cool.
It did look cool, and it brought people in,
Yeah.
and it held our attention
But
for
like,
the
I
2.5
don't
hours.
think the story was all that good. I just
It really wasn't.
that's not
but
the focus.
It's not.
Do you feel any sense of like pushback? Like when it was a 20th Century Fox property, sure, but now that it's Disney, I want it to fail even more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I always want Disney to fail.
I
If
do
not
too.
fail, I mean, I don't want people to not get like, but the people are going to get
Bah.
paid. Like,
Yeah.
They're gonna get paid either
They are.
way. It's
yeah,
Disney.
but I want the people behind the scenes. Those are the ones who do all the hard work.
Yes,
like those are
sure.
the people that I want to make money.
But like Disney themselves don't care if they make a profit anymore.
seems that way.
They're past the need for profit.
We are in a post-profit era.
Yeah, hopefully not for long.
Yeah.
Recession time.
Late stage capitalism.
All right.
All right, we're moving on, guys. So the Game Awards are last night, and Vera was so excited that she had to leave early so that she could go watch the Game Awards.
Well, it's your
thing.
it's my thing, and I wanted to be able to post about it in Discord and hang out with people and chat about it.
Did you see what happened at the end of the show?
I did, and I think that everybody else did too, since it's been trending on social media ever since it happened, and everyone was like, "What the hell was that?"
And what happened? How would you best describe it? The guy
There
just-
was a strange teenage-looking male standing behind the team doing their acceptance speech for Elden Ring.
Yes,
And
He
at
loves
the
Bill
end,
Clinton.
at the very end of the stream, he walks up to the mic and he says, "I want to nominate my Reform Orthodox rabbi, Bill Clinton, for this award."
and then it pans out.
And then it pans out, they go to the music, and then they go back to the host, Jeff Keighley, which is not normal for them. And then he says, "All right, eventful night. Thanks for watching, guys."
yeah,
Between this and the guy who went off on Balenciaga, there's nothing I love more than watching like talking heads on TV look awkward because things aren't going the way they planned. That's
Yeah.
like that's becoming my new
Poor
that's,
guy, though.
That's gonna become my
Yeah.
new like thing to look up online. Like everyone, you've got your like trends that you like. I'm gonna look up like things where like presenters look awkward.
So,
Right.
like, we didn't know this when we chose it as a topic, but there's a lot more to the story. This person is named Matan Evan, and he actually, since he was of a prepubescent age, has been on YouTube doing political commentary, mainly in support of the Freedom for Hong Kong movement. And he appeared on InfoWars getting interviewed by Owen Schroyer.
When he was
no lie.
12.
When he was like literally not even
A
12. He looked so young.
child.
And he was doing these political commentary videos with like a normal kid's bedroom in the background, very jarring. Decals of R2D2 on the wall, basketball hoop on the bedroom door, like fully a child.
yes, it's so bizarre.
So it's interesting that he made this comment about something related to Judaism when wearing Yeezys on stage.
It
Yes.
feels like political theater in a
It
weird
does.
like. I mean, whoever did it is bad at their job because I have no idea what they're trying to say.
Right.
But you know,
Yeah,
maybe
he could
that's
just
the
be
point.
straight up crazy. Like
trolling,
we
I
haven't
guess.
found out enough details yet.
And they did arrest him,
Yeah.
but
At the bare minimum, the guy
Yeah.
that interrupted the Elden Ring speech has been on InfoWars, so probably don't meme what he said mindlessly, especially since it involves invoking Judaism in some way. Just a small warning. That was from Shattered Earth, and that was a.
But he's been arrested
Yeah.
since
yes,
this happened.
he was arrested last night. Jeff Keighley had tweeted, "We're sorry for the interruption." He has been arrested, but Jeff Keighley didn't really say anything else about it.
Also, I'm looking at you, Will Smith. This guy just got up on stage and said some crap, and you got up on stage.
They still haven't ramped up the security at award shows,
No.
have they?
But
They're really
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
And then a couple of weeks after the thing there, then the comedian went up on stage and tried to like shoot a guy at a local event, and they had to start putting armed security guards outside
Right.
of New York nightclubs and stuff
I'm
like that.
beginning to think these award shows want someone to storm the stage.
It's
like
like
they
they
are
want the
reasons.
headlines, but they
They'll
want
make
it
it
to
as easy as
happen
possible.
almost towards the end of the event, so that the whole event isn't just that talk.
Yeah.
But they've
Sure.
gotten all that content out there so that you'll talk about the other things too. But also, this happened.
It's also
Yeah.
it's that everything's turning into pro wrestling, right? Everything is for
It
pro wrestling
is.
now.
It
It's
is.
in a world that is now so digitally connected, which is funny because pro wrestling goes the other direction. Because back in the day, kayfabe meant that nobody was supposed to know that it was a work, as they call
Right.
it. But the problem is now they go between their character and being real on
They
social
do.
media, and it infuriates people because they never know what they're supposed to be rooting or cheering for. So you can simultaneously be both your character on your Twitter profile and your real self, and they never have to really point it out because the idea is that you're not supposed to know. It's like a
Right.
new era in kayfabe, and it's really, really funny because now the rest of the world is turning into that
Right.
because you're always a character. You are your avatar on social media now, so you are your own Shawn Michaels or Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I tuned out of wrestling after Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. That was
And 30?
that was it for me. I was like, nope, I'm done.
Roman Reigns has been the world champion for like 3 years now as a bad guy.
Seriously?
Yeah,
I
as a
didn't
bad
realize
guy.
it was that long.
Yeah.
I liked the Shield.
Yep. Oh yeah.
They were great.
That
And
was,
then they broke them up. And
I was very
well,
sad when Seth Rollins got rid
that
of
was-
the blonde streak in his hair.
that was depressing.
That's
Well, they told him he couldn't even do his move anymore.
No, he brought that. They brought that back. They just can't call it. They can't call it what they called before. It was called a curb stomp.
Yeah.
Now they couldn't call it that
American
anymore because
History
yeah.
X.
Well, he literally
Yeah.
the move is literally like people are like somebody's on their knees and he just puts his head like foot on the back of your neck and just
Yeah.
slams your head in the face. Speaking of which, Brock Lesnar would take that better than everyone because he just like slammed his own head into the mat.
He would.
He's from Minnesota. He's from where
Yeah.
I'm from. Like he lives up north. So, but yeah, the world now, you are your avatar all the time. So you never know when you're in the real world anymore.
That's kind of how it felt. Like you said, this person was acting like an NPC the
He
whole
was,
time.
so he
Brett,
walked
could
up-
you like show us the clip on the
Yeah.
monitor
I
just so
gotta-
they can see what we're talking
Yeah,
about?
so he walked
was
up
like,
and he was standing with them, but he kept trying to stand between individuals so that he could get closer to the microphone, and progressively he's getting closer and closer, and then at the very end he just kind of like moves forward and is like, and then says it.
We may get copyright for this, but we can try it.
think?
I may have to cut it.
So you can stream the Game Awards with no copyright, so I do not think you will get copyright
okay,
unless
cool.
they're trying to erase it from the internet, which they
they should
could.
use it to their advantage, not erase
I think
it.
they will.
Let's see if we can.
So
find this
it's
here.
way towards the end.
It's the very end.
Right before
Yes.
Jeff Keighley comes back on stage.
Yes.
Oh, it's before they go to music. Yeah.
Hey, Matan. You know, real quick, I want to thank everybody and say that I think I want to nominate this award to my Reformed Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton. Thank you, everybody.
Like
have
Bill
no
Clinton
idea what
is
that
watching this
He's
and
like,
he's just
"Who
like,
are
"What?
you?
I don't know
What
this
did I
man."
do?
He's like, I do not do religion. I'm
Yeah.
Bill Clinton. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
So this journalist named Jason Schreier, which I hadn't heard of before, but
Vera's
Vera
favorite
is very
person.
familiar.
No.
Jason Schreier interviewed Matan after this scandal happened, and he said, "Just spoke to the guy who interrupted the Game Awards. He says his name is Matan and that he's 15 years old. Some thought his speech was an anti-Semitic dog whistle, but he is almost certainly a Jewish prankster. He understood a question I asked in Hebrew, then pretended he didn't." And also I saw in one of Matan's older videos on YouTube when he was much younger, he was wearing a shirt that had the exact geolocation of Tel Aviv and like the words Tel Aviv
Yeah.
on it. So it's likely that he's Jewish himself, but still like I'm trying to piece together why he would say what he said. Like it
Right.
makes no sense even if he is Jewish.
Have we confirmed that it is the same person? Because a lot of people
It's-
were saying,
oh,
okay,
it's
it's
the
the same
same
person. Okay.
because he's come out and admitted that it's him.
I love that.
But what's the charge that he's arrested on?
Right. Also, I'd like to point out that, of course, classic Jason Schreier and video game journalists, he didn't actually release the interview that he did. He just said, oh, here's a screenshot where I was on screen with him.
There's
and
no proof.
He mentioned this thing that I thought I took it one way, but there's not an article yet on it. He didn't actually release any clips, so it's Jason Schreier.
Do you think he'll write an article on it?
He'll probably write an article on it, yes. But he will leave things out, surely.
It's cooler if Alex Jones is in the back. Like, if there's just pans and Alex Jones is at the Video Game Awards. Like, that would be hilarious. He's there in an InfoWars shirt.
I guess that Matan was trying to imply that Bill Clinton is secretly Jewish, but
why do you need to announce that?
Why does that matter?
And there's no way that this guy got into the Game Awards either without someone on the inside
Helping
giving him a pass,
right,
or just actually sneaking in like Jason Bourne,
right?
Or
because
something.
you can't buy a ticket to the Game Awards. You can buy a ticket to something like E3, but you can't to the Game Awards.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Maybe
just so many
like,
questions
he
at this
faked
point.
a press pass or something.
He could have, but
It's
usually
so
it's like
much
an
cooler if
invite
that's true.
only.
Yeah.
It's so much cooler if he just like said he was somebody else, like with like just a completely different, like he took like a woman's name
Imagine
badge.
And if you
it
just
come-
act confident, people just believe.
Imagine
that
if
you're
it
supposed to
comes
be
out
there.
that they invited him.
Yeah.
Because
But
they
it's
thought he
crazy.
was like someone different and he like provided them different information, but they like actually invited him with his
Yeah.
real name. I don't
Who
think
else
so.
who
but
looks 15 years
Right.
old would be allowed at this event? Is
Right.
there like alcohol there, etc.?
Well,
Like,
I mean, they could have
there
been
are
like a voice
concerns
actor on
legally.
something theoretically.
maybe
that could be younger that is there because I mean there are
Well,
you know
there's
children in video
streamers
games, so they probably would invite like the younger kids who were maybe a voice actor for one of these larger games, but there's really not that many kids that go from what we can see from like the audience.
Jason Schreier said that he's getting Jew-splained too in the responses.
I
of
hate
his
Jason
tweet.
Schreier. I will say it anywhere I go. Jason Schreier sucks.
Jason Schreier, if you're watching this,
Jason Schreier, if you're watching this, unblock me because you can't take a woman's opinion.
unblock VARA on
Yes,
Twitter,
thank
Jason.
you.
We get a super chat from him.
Stop
and he's just like,
shying
stop being
away.
mean to me.
Yeah.
Also, it's interesting that he was in there in the thick of like the Freedom for Hong Kong movement, because like I said, the only time I've ever had like really bad like censorship on Instagram was like there were times where I've never had a video like outside of like internet problems not post, but I used to wear like I had a shirt that said Freedom for Hong Kong when I was filming edits in 2020, and every time that thing would be in the thumbnail, the video wouldn't post. It would take 4 or 5 times to post it, and I would have to take a thumbnail where the logo wasn't visible.
Well,
Like, where
maybe Matan is just using this publicity stunt to get more attention onto Hong Kong. Who knows?
Maybe
so,
he's a Kanye stan.
Maybe he's a Kanye stan. Like, who knows? I want to get this interview released. I want the details.
Right.
Stop toying with us, Jason Schreier. Just put out the video.
He's
Like,
not going to. He will not.
what was
do
the
it.
whole point of this anyway? You
Right.
know?
I also think that Gen Z is kind of becoming the start of like the nihilist movement for these types of things, meaning like, for instance, our next story, we're going to talk about people that care too much about the opinions of other people, and we're moving into an era where maybe there's so much scrutiny that you just give up and you're like, whatever. And
I'm
you
gonna
can just-
walk onto a
Yeah.
stage
Yeah.
at an award show and say this. Like, what does it matter anymore?
So does this mean that Alex Jones should stream during the Game Awards? That's what I think.
Schroyer literally called Matan Evan in 2019 a rising star of the conservative
12.
movement at like 11 or 12
How
years
can
old.
you say that about a child?
That's really creepy.
Like, that's just so, like,
I would
it's
understand
funny,
being,
but
like,
also weird.
Right, 16 or 17, you're almost an adult.
I hope they got
but-
parental permission to do
Yeah,
that interview, but also, like, you're on InfoWars. Like, do you understand
Right.
the implications of that?
Dad, I got invited on this podcast. What's the name of the podcast, son?
It's just a
InfoWars.
podcast.
Well, that sounds lovely. You should
Yeah.
do the info.
Good job, son. I'm proud of you.
I like info. Information is good. You should do that. I don't quite get the wars part of it.
This is just
Who is
so
Alex
bizarre.
Jones?
Is it like Star Wars?
Also, like, Jason Schreier is getting criticism mainly for giving him more attention, but it's like, if you pretend that this didn't happen, you're just going to...
Well, that's the thing is Jason Schreier is like in an echo chamber. It's
Yeah.
his audience that tells him we shouldn't give attention to people that have done bad things and we should cancel them.
Yeah.
But he clearly wants to hear, this kid's side of the
clout.
story, or he wants clout, classic Jason Schreier. And now those people are attacking him over it.
This is
Classic Jason Schreier. That's what I always
It's not that we can't listen to both sides, or at least even hear just general information.
This is my favorite meme from the entire night. It says Elden Ring, God of War, Ragnarok, and then it's got Bill Clinton as like the Shiva dog chasing him off with a baseball bat.
Bill Clinton's PR team is so confused right now.
No, they're loving it right now. Like, this is the kind of attention you can't buy. Like, this is like you gotta, like, when you're an out of touch person, granted, if I was Bill Clinton, I might want to stay as far away from scrutiny as possible, but like if you're like a celebrity and you get this type of viral attention, this is great for your brand, as long as you're not somebody who has to run away from being on flight logs for certain people.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right.
But it's and somebody in the chat says, who's this Jason guy?
He's just a video game journalist. He used to work for Kotaku, now he works for Bloomberg. He is terrible.
Is he the rare example of like the games journalist that actually did make it on to like a mainstream publication? Because most of them want to work for the mainstream publications but don't.
Right. Well, he got hired by Bloomberg for their like entertainment section that they started, which it's not surprising that he got on because he was one of the larger journalists. But
yeah, are there any you like?
bad.
Are there any journalists you think do good work? That answers
We might
that
have
question.
we might have a couple of them on the show in the new
Yes,
year.
there are some individuals that I think work
Yeah.
really good, like Bounding into Comics. Bounding into Comics is pretty good.
Does great work. John Delarose is going to will be doing this show, and he writes for Bounding into Comics. I like I appreciate it. Like, even when you have your slant, I appreciate that you write what you know. And like, but also like most of them, if you're writing in that sphere, they're doing so under you're reading it under the assumption that you know that we all have our bias, and those magazines like Abounding into Comics, you know what side of things will generally be on,
right?
Because just like when you read Kotaku, or just like when you read Collider,
Polygon,
or the Mary Sue. Mary Sue. Who doesn't love the Mary Sue?
Great. Love that.
I'm loving that Bill Clinton's replies on Twitter right now are getting flooded with respond to the allegations, respond to this. What are your thoughts on this?
Imagine if he puts up like a video and is like, I have no affiliation with this person, and then everyone will be talking about that, so it'll go on for another
There's
week.
like a new promotional poster for Elden Ring that has Bill Clinton on the cover. I love this. Yes. I love this timeline.
I even saw a photoshopped image of Bill Clinton holding something, and it was Elden Ring. Someone photoshopped him holding Elden Ring.
So this is like,
love it.
As much as I hate the internet some days, and I do believe that the internet's probably going to be the downfall of civilization. We were not meant to all be connected all the time. It's horrible. The creativity in meme culture is maybe the greatest thing that's ever happened to the world. Memetics are the most powerful form of information transfer we have, and it really does, like, for a lot of people, it's kind of like, I talked to a friend who talked about, he's like, I feel like I connect with people better, like my autistic side connects with people better through memes than I could ever connect with people in the real world.
I mean, yeah.
And like, there's aspects of that are true, but you have to be like, to understand that that's a certain type of communication.
Right.
But it's still so new. Like, I've told the story that like there is a meme about a meme job that it says like work for this. It was like a Fortune 500 company making $80K a year as a meme maker.
That's how the millennials avoid their avocado toast.
And it said never give up, never let your parents tell you your dreams are stupid. Like, imagine that. Like, you got hired just to be
professional meme maker.
I honestly think, though, that companies do need to hire more people that are just in touch with social media and their audience, and that happens to be memes a lot of the time.
It doesn't work at the corporate level. Have you seen the
especially
Pfizer?
Not when the meme makers are like in their 30s.
Have you seen?
Well, they need younger people who understand
but
what's funny.
It won't matter because that will never be approved by the people coming above.
What's funny has to be irreverent.
Right.
And they're not capable of doing that.
Well, and the dissemination of it can't come through more people than one. When somebody creates a meme, that's an army of one creating a message for everyone to read and see. When you have to do it and then get corporate approval for your meme, the Pfizer memes are the most dystopian. It's the girl meme like this and says, "What, you're not boosted?" And it's the most unfunny, not creative stuff
It's
you've
not.
ever
Not to
seen.
even mention their collaboration with Marvel.
Not as bad as the Marvel Avengers comic.
I'm sure you saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like, it is awful to imagine. Like, I don't want memes corporatized. I want
Right.
freedom for memes. I don't want them being.
Elon Musk, if you're hearing this,
Hey, I may be
freedom
a-
for memes.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm a libertarian, but I actually want regulation. I don't want the corporate. Once your corporation gets over a certain size, you're not allowed to use memes for ads. There
fair enough.
have been some awful ones lately. Like sometimes I'll get stuck on like on Instagram, you get like corporate memes as you're scrolling,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, oh my, it's like a slow motion car wreck, and you're like, this got approved by someone. This is
Yeah.
not just unfunny. It doesn't make any
It's like
sense.
AI
Yeah.
isn't able to fully imitate the tone that human
Right.
beings can read. Therefore, it's just never going
It's
to
like a situation
They can't-
happened a couple of weeks ago. The Need for Speed, the new game, was coming out at the time. It came out like a week ago. And they had someone on their PR team who was responding to people who were criticizing the monetization of the game, and they were memes, but they were typing the memes. They weren't like the actual photo memes, so
Yeah.
people who didn't understand memes got mad, and they didn't come across as memes. Like, I am around the internet, so I get the template they were going for.
Yeah.
But it came across as so terrible, and they face so much backlash over it because they hire people who just don't understand how to connect with their consumers.
And it's like, here's proof that college is unnecessary. You can't teach a meme course in college.
Or
Don't
if you
give them
try, it'll be
ideas.
woke.
It would be
Right.
the
and
only
boring and unfunny.
The only way you could do it would be roasting the class. Like it literally
Right.
would have to be about making fun of the class and how stupid it is.
Right.
And the students aren't capable of taking a joke
And the
at their own
teachers would not be
expense.
capable
The
of
teachers-
dealing with criticism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just old, out of touch baby boomers teaching young, out of touch Gen Zers.
Look, I love when my dad sends me memes and video. Like it's just so I love the boomers. Like they're I love it. It gives me great heart, especially when it's stuff that's very clearly not real. And they don't know. Like I get a kick out of that stuff. But like you said, that's a breakdown in language. We are now we're not just communicating across space and time. We're communicating across whole generations of people where you're having conversations about stuff that you would never have with somebody of a certain age, right? Like when I talk to my dad on the internet, it's not the same thing as talking to him in person. And it changes the structure of your conversation. Like we haven't been around long enough, nor has the internet been around long enough to really know how it's going to affect the way the world is. It kind of speaks to what I was talking about earlier with Jennifer Lawrence. Even just communicating through transcript is different than
is.
communicating through spoken word.
Yes.
And as we develop new ways of communicating with one another, there will be hardships and there will be Pfizer memes and awful things like that. But on the whole, it's better. And like I said, the whole of what a lot of our elections have now been swayed by meme culture. Like the power of memetics is not to be discounted, but it is a fascinating thing to look at how quickly these things disseminate and how it kind of becomes a proving point for what's organic and what isn't.
Right.
It's almost a litmus test for organic interest in things.
Right.
Like, do you remember when people are going to love this in the chat? Fast and the Furious 9 was coming out. They had all of the memes about family that were all very much corporate plan. Like it made it for
Yes.
about 2 days before people started to realize it wasn't authentic.
Right.
Because like some of them got so absurd that they weren't funny anymore.
Right.
So it's something you can't teach, and these events are going to happen as things go. I watch a lot of old great commercials. Like a lot of like one of my things that I like to follow is like commercials from the 90s. And a
Yes.
lot of that there's memetics in the way they did these commercials because they were oh my gosh, so random commercials that would fit better into a picture template now. But a lot of the sports ones from back then, there's this great one of Mike Piazza. He's a catcher for a baseball team, whereas like his girlfriend's like, we're having trouble communicating. So he gets up on his hind legs and does like his symbols under the under thing. That would actually work as a meme. But it's really funny because the communication is changing. So,
Yeah.
What one was your favorite of the Bill Clinton ones?
Wait, what do you mean?
Of the Bill Clinton memes, which one did
Oh
you
no,
like the most?
like I just saw like a promotional poster that had for Elden Ring that had Bill Clinton on it. Like it looked real.
It's there's the cover of it right. Look at the game. Like you can see that one on screen. That one's incredible. Like, I just, like, that's the democratization of the internet. I love it. Let's go for it.
It's also funny to a bunch of people who don't have living memory of Bill Clinton being president. So
Yeah.
And that's going to happen too. Like he will be famous to a whole generation of kids now for a reason completely different to Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah, Bill Clinton,
bad trade
that
deals,
Game Awards
and
guy.
Bill Clinton Google Trends up by 500%.
Yeah, like that's like you will have a whole nother life now in your like if you had your fame as a politician or as an actor, you can get a whole nother life out of a meme and then be brought back into relevance.
Maybe he's going to capitalize on this.
He's gonna. This is
not
gonna push
smart
him.
enough to.
He's gonna make this as an
Probably
announcement,
not.
and then Hillary's gonna announce for 2024, and then we're all screwed. Let's go to super chats.
Christopher Gore said, "Hail Timcast, hail Titans. Hashtag Flat Earth is real."
One of my moderators.
Yes. Well, oh gosh, flat Earth. Those are my. Did you ever see?
He would say hashtag Flat Earth is real as a joke.
Have you ever seen the meme that says from the newspaper headline that says like flat earthers from around the globe meet for a conference?
That was good.
High Voltage 75 said, "Vera, never heard of you, but after perusing your channel a bit, I noticed you played a few Resident Evil games. Which is your favorite and why?"
Honestly, I love all the Resident Evil games. It's one of my favorite franchises. I don't know, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil Village, then 7. Before has to be in there. That's the problem, is that they're all great. So
That's a great answer.
they're all great. A little bit of this, a
very
little bit
political
of that.
answer.
I'm sorry.
No, in a show full of black-pilled Brett who's constantly ragging on everything and complaining, a little bit of positivity is a great
I've
thing.
streamed most of them. I streamed the 2 remake, the 3 remake, 7 right before 8. And I'm going to be... Oh, and on Halloween, I streamed the DLC.
There you go.
It's great.
Waffle Sensei said, "Welcome to the show, Vera. Great to have you. I also very
Thank
much
you.
enjoyed Space Pocahontas. I didn't realize we were in the minority. You're not. You're in the majority. It's just Brett and I
telling everyone it's a psyop.
saying
That's-
this,
I think
the
it's
story
pretty,
doesn't matter and it was all
it's
about the
cool,
visuals.
But I mean, yeah, if you really look at the story, it's got some problems.
Yeah. It's us railing against the majority because we got torn apart in the comments for...
Well, it's okay. Sometimes you have to
For
be a little
saying that.
different.
In the chat, not Alan Rogers says, Brett, the moment you describe a meme is the moment it stops being funny. Yes, but I don't have graphics pulled up on screen, so forgive me for my excitement.
He's being a bit of a boomer himself. Joseph said, "Brett, what do you love most about Minnesota?"
Other than just because that's where I'm from. Because it's like growing up there is one of the best places in the world for skating because the Twin Cities and all of the outlying suburbs, which have vastly different architecture, provided like infinitely different places to skate, all of which were very close to one another. So you could be in radically different environments from city to city and not travel more than 30 minutes in either direction and end up in completely different places. Whether you're in North Minneapolis and trying to not like slide out and fall on needles, or you're in Eden Prairie and you're in the suburbs and trying not to have like cops with nothing better to do than to come and bother you. Growing up there was something special. Also, I'd rather be living in colder weather than warmer, personally. Just my personal preference.
Bjorg with Pipe said, "I just rewatched Lawrence of Arabia. Great movie and long at 3 hours 47 minutes, but it has an intermission. Return to the intermission." Yeah.
They talked about that.
If it's going to be that long, Avatar 2 should have one.
I think they talked about that too. They talked about possibly giving it an intermission, and then they said no.
James Cameron even said, "Well, you can get up for 5 minutes and go to the bathroom."
'Cause the
and
story
you miss
doesn't
nothing."
actually
That's the
matter.
problem. You won't miss anything. What? I don't go to the theaters to see a movie that I could randomly get up and then
Every minute should be there for a reason.
It should.
Matt Gingell, I hope I said that right, said, "How about AI writes the Wonder Woman 3 script?"
Hey.
Yeah, that's
It could. And it would blend right in.
And then use that Lensa app to do the art for
Yeah.
it. And those have been my favorite. Like my favorite discussions is everybody having their like. I've heard more discussion, people talking about the heart and soul of art in the last like week than I have in my entire life. Like,
Needed the disruption to warrant a conversation like that.
It's very interesting to see a lot of people get philosophical online for this type of topic because to me that's the type of topic that's better in person. Like I'd rather have that discussion with somebody.
Right.
Like when it's typed out, it's just way too easy to become hyperbolic and overly verbose. To say, you know, like because you're passionate about it, right? So they have passionate feelings about it. So it gets long. So people write these long things, and I get to the first paragraph, I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
No. But I get it. Like I get the fear that a lot of people are having about it. But have you seen those fingers on those AI arts? Your jobs aren't going anywhere. Like maybe like one day like basic like template art will go the way of AI. But
I do think so.
High end artists, I forget who it was that I was listening to the other day saying like most likely like the high end artists will license out their style to these companies.
Maybe.
At this point, that's actually becoming a problem because they're licensing out the style of certain artists without telling them or paying them, and now they're getting exposed for doing so and have no legal recourse.
I don't think you can license. I don't think you can. Anyone can steal your style.
No. It's already happening.
No, but
like
that's what I'm saying.
I've seen this happening on TikTok. Like all of these digital artists are calling out bigger companies for blatantly stealing their styles and using AI to recreate them, and they have no way of proving it or getting compensation.
Right.
Is that any different than hiring like an artist who just rips off other people's styles when they do their art?
That's also more difficult to prove. Like the fact that they ripped it off, you know, like legally you need
evidence,
proof that they did that intentionally and very specific examples.
And that's so hard to do unless you have history of them like scrolling through your social media and liking posts.
And now like they're saying,
like
here's the solution, just feed AI every frame of every Disney movie and then they'll start reforming how this is done legally. But I don't even know if that's true because they feel like exposure of our art is better even if we're not getting paid for it directly. Like the more it's visible to the public, the better.
Mark in the chat says some of the AI pieces being generated have their signatures in the generated art. But here's
that's
the
one
thing.
way.
Does the moment that picture ends up online through the TOS of those websites, it can be used elsewhere? Like Instagram can use your pictures for anything they want.
For Instagram, yes. I'm not sure about other platforms though. And
like if you end up on Google.
Yeah, but that's only for Facebook or Instagram to use those images as promotion for Facebook or Instagram, not other companies. Other companies can't do that.
Okay. All right.
So like there could be some legal recourse.
I mean, this is one of those things like there will never be like it's going to take decades upon decades for legal precedents to be set. Like no way. Like not anytime soon. And in the meantime, these companies which will amass massive amounts of money will just see it as the cost of doing business.
And when I see like all of these threads on Twitter of a bunch of digital artists complaining and whining about not being compensated properly, it sometimes falls flat because a lot of them are paid a lot and they just feel like they deserve more.
Right.
But it's like, what do you expect when you're getting licensed out by a mega corporation? Of course they don't care about who you are or what you contribute.
Right.
Look at how the comic book industry has treated their artists in the last
it's like, what do you expect?
Not everyone is the few at the top. For every James Tinian there's a million ones that make nothing doing their working for like embarrassingly like scary low page rates. And it's not really something they can do about it because they can always just go find someone else. And as the content becomes disposable, they certainly don't care about the quality for most of this stuff. The stuff that they do care about the quality for is based on the talent of that writer or that artist, right? Like a James, like Tinian, like Black Label stuff is sold on that premise that it's high end. If you're not a high end artist, that's I don't mean to be rude about that. I'm not saying there's something wrong with you draw average. You're not going to be able to market yourself the same way that someone who has a more proven skill set can do so. But it's still like you still feel for them when they have to like. But then they also gaslight you and say the comic book industry is doing better than ever, and then they're doing like GoFundMes at the end of the month every month for stuff. So it's kind of a disaster. Like I feel bad for them. The skating industry is the same way. Like nobody makes any money in the skating industry because it's just the way the model, like the way skates are sold is so hard to, because they can't sell at cost or volume. Like a skateboard can be sold for very cheaply and like millions of them can be made. Skates are such an investment that it's a completely different medium. So much less are sold. And so the people that lose out are the ones that actually make money off the skates outside of the company. So there's no money in that industry. So I feel for them. It's just sucks to see that happen.
Right.
Ray Gatan said, Vera, play Disco Elysium and tell them how good it is.
Maybe one day I'll play it. Yeah. Maybe.
He's holding on to hope.
He
Matt
is.
R. said, any way to make a non-woke avatar, what would they even do?
They just like it's them like not caring about the environment. Like none of the
I
characters
think that
care
we
about
could
the
get a
environment.
plot twist where we end up siding with the army. Like the blue people aren't.
Well, what are they
the Na'vi
even going?
aren't
So,
actually indigenous. They replaced a previous indigenous
Stephen Lang's
species.
character, which he was the main villain in the first movie, he is a Na'vi this time.
Yep.
So what are they doing with that? He just decided to change sides and go, you know what, it is actually better over here.
But they're like, let's just repeat it where the army is still the villain.
Right, is it going to just be somebody else and it's going to be a rehash of the first movie? Only, oh, hey, the bad guys are actually the good guys and there's just new bad guys.
Yeah.
I want to. Joseph in the chat says, "Hot take: skating shouldn't be about making money." Well, any industry that sells a product, like if you're one of the best people in an industry and you've worked your whole life to develop that level of skill and that level of talent, deserves to be compensated for their work. But
There's
it should also be
definitely a hot take.
and it should be commensurate with what you bring in, right? Like
Right.
it shouldn't be about like you get paid just because you're good. That's a big misconception. A lot
Right.
of those industries, like, but they're really good. I'm like, that doesn't matter. Do people actually want to watch them? Do people actually enjoy what they make? That's not the same thing as being good at something. You can you can be good at something and not be palatable and not be somebody that people like to watch. And we're in an industry, like, it's funny, we're in an era now where, like, at least in skating and maybe a lot also in art with like Indiegogo and Patreon, is it's more democratized than ever. You don't need to. Like, I did better with my Patreon for skating than I did with sponsors.
Right.
Like, you don't need to. And it's funny. I tried to push that on people. I'm like, you do not need these companies. They'll sell their skates without you.
Right.
So, but you don't need them either.
Right.
Like, you don't need to worry about that because these things aren't going to change anytime soon until the industry radically changes or the participation level changes. And it's growing in Europe and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But just like art, like, just do your own thing. And if people like what you do, you have the ability to be your own person online and sell an entirety of your
You can.
personality.
Make
like,
yourself a brand.
Yeah. Yep.
Master Farce Theater, I am not going to read that.
You got your first.
Don't. He's one of my viewers. He knows that his
Okay.
chats are spicy.
But that was your first. I'm not reading
First,
that today.
I'm not going to
Sorry.
read that today. I'm sure many more to come.
so
Not
sorry.
even one from Bad App.
Not yet. I guess he doesn't want to scandalize the guest.
But he's
He
being
has
very
some
polite too.
manners.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Toy News Quarterly said, just got my proof copy of my first magazine. So excited. Let's get a PCC ad in for our next edition. You posted a mail link. Didn't work. Let me know your contacts.
I don't think we can do. I don't think we don't have a mailbox right now. We would have to talk with
Maybe
the
they
company
mean
about that.
email,
Email?
which does work. I'll check on that, I guess. I didn't know that you had reached out. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, happy Friday, Crisis Crew. Following my tradition of welcoming first-time guests to PCC, welcome to the show, Vera Dark.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dash Fortune said, Brett, ever watch Max Headroom, an 80s sci-fi cyberpunk dystopia? It's amazing. You'd love it. The things it predicted are quite insightful.
Is that the one with Matt Frewer or whatever? The guy from Eureka. I think it is. I think I might have seen
Not
that.
sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Caper2X said, back from the doctor's office, PCC crew. Are you bad-mouthing Marvel again, Brett? Go Army, beat Navy, Sailor Mary.
You've been pretty tame today.
They
Look.
called you the cute guest, and
That is
welcome
very
Miss Dark.
Look, if anything, it's that I'm like, I give DC crap too. I'm more invested in where that stuff goes because I'm more interested in their characters.
Right.
If anything, my feeling towards Marvel is a certain amount of indifference. Like I kind of want to see Secret Wars, like the one with Samuel L. Jackson. Is that the show or is that Secret Invasion?
That's Secret Invasion.
The show is going to be,
Yes.
but they're going to do a Secret Wars. I'm sure they'll do,
Yes.
and then they'll probably do Civil War 2 someday too. It's going to be awful.
Yeah, who knows?
Alex Making Beds and Yes Chairs also said, just wanted to tell ya I'm getting drunk with my friends. I'm glad
Excellent.
that you're able to get
Exciting.
drunk and watch Pop Culture Crisis. That's fun.
Pour one out for us.
Bobcat said, you don't need to be Jason Bourne to get into the Game Awards. You just need a large pepperoni.
Is that true? I didn't know that.
Interesting.
I did not know that. Read one more.
Gamergate moment? Bobcat said Jason Schreier is a games journalist with less credibility than Anita Sarkeesian.
Actually true, though.
that-
I hadn't heard of him before, though.
Well, we all.
He's
See that bad?
one that would say that Gamergate is still going on today.
They love it.
Even though it was many years ago.
I hope he becomes like an executive producer on that Gamergate movie they were going to be making at BuzzFeed or whatever.
They did. That already came out.
Did it?
Yeah.
I severely hope that Matan Evan didn't get into the Game Awards by sleeping with somebody powerful, because he is literally 15 years old.
15.
Let's hold off on that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, we're moving on. On that note,
Awkward.
Let's move on. So this story came to me late in the day today, and I want to go through most of it. Like, I want to read this entire piece. So it says, slaves change their band name and issue apology to the people they've offended. So Slaves is a band in the UK. Like you said, they are now called Soft Play. And what bothers me about this, guys, is he gives two public statements. The band gives two public statements about this controversy, one in 2015 and one just recently as they've relaunched the band. And the problem here is the context. So we're going to go through it. It says, Slaves have announced their return to music, and they're kicking it off by changing their band name and issuing an apology to the people they've offended.
So I want to read out exactly what they said in 2015 when they initially got pushback on the name Slaves. They said, if you pick up an Oxford dictionary and look up the word slaves, there is no mention of any racial context. A slave is a person who is owned by another person and forced to work for free. In that manner, people who deem you a racist are being incredibly small-minded, because slavery has happened to every single creed, race, and religion, and it's not a racist term. There are days when we think, oh man, why did we pick this name? But now I look at it, it's important. It says a lot about the time we live in, that freedom of speech is so overanalyzed that you can't even use words. Yeah. This contrasts greatly with what they came out and said today, and are getting trashed for saying in a Notes app apology. I hate Notes app apologies because they show
so
how
awful.
Low effort and how little thought was put into
it's like,
them.
I was laying in bed and figured I'd write this today.
Yeah, so and it also kills me that in the replies to today's apology, there are multiple people with tattoos of the Slaves band name, their logo, saying like, am I supposed to regret this now? Because like, now they're being called out the same way, and they're essentially calling their own fans racist for being complicit with the old
It was a very
name.
similar situation with Lady Antebellum. They put out all those songs in like 2005, 2010, got super popular, and then they changed their name to Lady A because it was seen as too offensive.
And the Dixie Chicks are just the Chicks.
The Chicks.
Country bands, apparently. You're not allowed to be country at all anymore.
The Chicks. the women. So like,
the women that
funny
we
thing,
respect very much.
The funny thing about this for Slaves is that, first of all, their username is still Slaves. Their screen name is still Slaves. They're using the name to say this on Twitter, that they're no longer slaves. And now they're coming back from a hiatus just to make this announcement and not release music at the same time. It's completely a PR stunt to draw more attention to the band, probably before they roll out a new album or a new load of singles. And instead of marketing it the normal way, they use virtue signaling and bending the knee to some woke mob that barely even exists. Like, I don't even think that they were receiving that much criticism for their name. They're just drumming it up now so that more people pay attention to them and stream their stuff.
Right. They're hoping that it will maybe bring in a new key audience and
Crystal Chicks
work.
To go to their shows. I don't know who they're trying to appeal to here.
Maybe they want to go, TikTok viral. One of their songs is going to be heavily promoted on TikTok now, and then everyone's going to love them, and they're going to be like, "Wow, look at this! This was great."
So it says, however, we now recognize that our original intent doesn't change the fact that the name Slaves is an issue. In this day and age, we believe it is very important that people change and make improvements no matter how far down the line they are. The name doesn't represent who we are as people or what our music stands for any longer. We want to sincerely apologize to anyone we've offended. No one you offended is doing so in good conscience. They're cry bullies. And they're actually they're basically mental terrorists. They're out to get you, and they're social terrorists.
Well,
they're there to control you.
What if I say they've offended me by changing the name now? Then are they going to change it back?
Are you sincerely apologetic to the fans that you have offended by changing your name? People who have gotten that name branded on their bodies permanently.
Honestly, I feel like maybe companies don't want to work with them because of their name.
You think?
And they're facing a lot, and they're trying to maybe start getting ready to release a new album. And companies are saying, well, we don't really want to promote you or give you products to promote. And they're saying, you know what, I guess we'll just change our name
They're
because
also
it's not
sabotaging all the past years this band has existed and the marketing they've done before. Now they'll have no recognizability in the public eye now.
Your name is your most important commodity. It's literally your most important commodity. It shows you the power of the guilt-ridden version of social justice that they feel like. It's literally like, imagine, like, I wonder if Britney Spears will stop playing Slave for You. It's gonna have to be something else now.
Oh yeah.
She'll have to. She'll censor.
It'll be like a babe for you.
Yeah, oh
unpaid prostitute for you. Like where do we draw the line here? And
Free labor
I'm
for
glad that like some of their fans are pushing back on this instead of applauding them. One person tweeted at them, "For me, Slaves was a rare current band that kind of pushed back against the system in both content and delivery and had a true backbone. Sadly, they now no longer represent that and have bowed to the ridiculous woke narrative. A real shame."
I honestly feel like that's the situation with Paramore as well. So Paramore, when they sing Misery Business, she doesn't say the word, but now they're releasing songs about, you know, being against the news. Like their new single that came out yesterday, it's called, you know, This Is News. And it's basically like we're slaves to devices and
we are
all these things and don't believe the news.
We're what now to devices?
Yeah, and you know, it's a very similar situation.
Here, it says, however, we feel that the time now has come to pick back up where we left off, they said. But before that, they wanted to address something important. They continued, "We called our band Slaves. It was intended solely as a reference to the grind of the day-to-day life. As younger men, we responded to criticism of the name from a place of fear and defensiveness. Feeling backed into a corner, our own pride caused us to fight for our name we weren't even sure we wanted anymore." You're lying. You gave a calm, concise, reasonable explanation as to why your name was that before.
Right.
It made way more sense.
And it was a good statement.
You are clearly in fear now.
Yeah, they're reacting in fear because they don't think that the current climate will receive them as well as they did back when the band started. But yeah, they're giving up their identity of an artist group that can push boundaries anymore. And now people are like making fun of them because soft play, of course, sounds inherently like talking about foreplay.
They should have changed their name to Indentured Servants.
So here are some responses. One person quote tweeted saying, "Everyone go laugh at the angry white guys in the comments who think pronouns are cringe."
They are.
Yikes. Another person said, "Did I just wake up in 2014? Valid question. I've never like seen something this much of a throwback to like when anti-SJW YouTubers were a thing."
Is this also like, are we really in this era anymore? I felt like we were past this. Like, I feel like the outrage would have been there for a couple of days. Get yourself through it. Weather the storm. Just do what all the smart people do. Don't address it.
Right.
Chris Brown beat the crap out of Rihanna, and he just didn't address it. And she like forgave him, and they moved on with their lives. And obviously,
unfortunately, that is kind of the playbook for how to rebuild your reputation is to just not address the criticism, whether or not it's valid.
And what Chris Brown did was actually wrong and awful. What these people did was not wrong and awful. You do yourself a disservice by not standing your ground.
Right.
How can anyone take you seriously if you won't stand by something as simple as a name that you gave a perfectly reasonable explanation to? Like, calling somebody a slave to the daily grind is a common colloquial phrase that everyone has heard before. Is our language really that locked up behind social messaging that you're not allowed to even joke or make, it's not even a joke, to not make some type of, off the cuff reference that doesn't mean it's exact wording?
Right.
They're clearly just doing this as a grab for attention as they come back from a hiatus. And they're hoping that the reaction from their fans will be, okay, this PR statement is kind of weird, kind of disingenuous and robotic, but I'm just so glad that they're back to make new music, I'm going to ignore it.
Right. And again, I personally feel like it's companies. Companies don't want to work with them because they're saying, well, your name, it's just It's just not it. Change your name and then we'll talk again.
Because the companies are also reacting in fear.
Right,
All of
yeah.
these corporations think that someone criticizing them on Twitter, like a Joe Schmo 32, literally
Literally a Joe Schmo 32.
saying that they're, condoning slavery or condoning racism in a tweet that could possibly be written by a bot. The baby boomers that run these corporations don't realize that that's not a catastrophic event for their company.
Right.
And they just react hastily to denounce anything.
Perhaps this changes when Gen Z and beyond get into those positions of power where they're better
Understand
to
how
understand
trivial these reactions are.
Granted, the idea is that they're being raised to actually, like, the people who are putting the kibosh on this, she hates it.
The kibosh.
I
cannot believe you say that.
People putting the kibosh on this now are doing so because they don't realize that it's actually a small minority that think this way.
Right.
The people who will put the kibosh on it in the future just actually agree with them.
It's just because that minority can be loud.
Yeah. Yep.
I think they need to put the kibosh on the name Soft Play because it's a horrible replacement. Even if you did want to replace the name, why Soft Play?
Maybe they go on tour with Coldplay and then pick up with another.
And then they'll do a collab called Cold Soft.
Soft serve.
Soft
serve.
Like it will be horrible. And
or Play.
Yeah, there you go. Also, what this
good.
is, it's proof that intent doesn't matter, only interpretation. You can give the most reasonable explanation to anything, and it doesn't matter how you meant it. It matters how they took it in our society now. Like it's kind of like what we talk about with shows like The Boys. Like, you can like the show, but not that way.
Right.
Like, you're not allowed to take an opinion. You have to
You're
not just
interpreting our art
wrong, and you have to interpret it the correct way, or else you can't watch it.
I'm getting people who are mad in the chat about kibosh. Sorry.
I don't understand the word. Like, what does it even mean? Where did you hear this for the first time, Brett?
From my childhood.
Where does this come from? I've never heard you say this.
Well, your
until the past
childhood
week.
bothers people.
Yes. Well,
it offends people.
Cancel my childhood.
Yes.
I am fine with the word slaves for a band.
But
kibosh, you're going too far.
It's up there with hullabaloo. I love hullabaloo.
Okay, that's excusable.
That's a great one.
But that's because it's familiar.
Fair.
What is kibosh?
Fair enough. All I'm saying is, like, look, imagine being like the people who have to go to see these shows now with those tattoos, and now they're just
is so
I was more
depressing.
committed than
Right.
you were.
They're
That
like
is so sad.
We officially cancel all of our fans.
Why
Since
did
we were a new band, if you liked this name, then you're racist.
Isn't Slav short for Slavic? I believe that's where the term comes from.
Well, slave, the English word
slave comes from Slavic.
It derives from the word Slav.
They should have changed their name to the Slavs.
The Slavs.
Then
it would be fine.
I don't know if either of them are Slavic, but they could have done that, and that would have been fine. And I'm like, look,
Go
I'm
on
Slavic.
tour with Molchat Doma.
I'm Slavic at heart, and they become a Norwegian death metal band. That would be cool.
Norwegian is not
different.
Slav.
I'm. It's a joke.
Actually?
Actually.
Okay.
That was literally the living embodiment of actually.
You do
not.
it way more than me.
Yes,
Okay.
fair enough.
Let's go to Super Chats.
All right, let's do it.
Nate Parrott said, video game journos are garbage. They
are.
cover games but can't beat tutorials.
That's true. Dean Takahashi couldn't even get through the tutorial level of Cuphead.
I also love when they make the argument why there should be an easy mode on games because they can't get through the regular.
Right. It's too hard.
Big Dave sent us 99 cents without a message. Thank you.
We love Big Dave. He's very he never has much to say, but he's always very very active in the chat.
I need to stop watching YouTube said Avatar is the McRib of film. All hype and you bought in.
Oof. That is a comparison. Now I need a picture of
honestly.
like them eating.
Well, if you like the McRib, all power to you. It's just not that great.
Is there another food analog to the McRib? The McRib is one that gets jokes made in
Honestly,
like.
I don't know.
There's like
Filet-O-Fish.
There's like a no. 'cause
Also
that's-
at McDonald's.
No, Filet-O-Fish pretty.
There's a random scene in like one of the NCISs where he's talking about it's like we're globally connected now. Gee, we can do anything we want as a species. Because absolutely right. We could have the McRib whenever we want it. Like that's now the benchmark for societies. We can have a McRib whenever we want.
Right.
Potatoes for Seamus said hashtag Brettman is real. Hashtag we believe. And then a bunch of potato emojis.
Well, I need a costume if I'm going to do that.
Yeah, they'll have to send it. Terrence Rice said, if you like Resident Evil, play Signalis. You'll love it.
I have heard of it. I have not played it though.
Fortune said flat earthers are just people who play too many side scrollers.
Could be. No texture, no depth.
Big Dave said Miss Vera is sporting Mr. Brett's next hair challenge.
Yeah,
Look,
we should order you a wig.
I mean,
and then
he's
dye
bleached it
and
already.
then you have to wear it.
I already bleached it when we did set the challenge. You should have seen my face growing more dejected as the episode goes on.
You knew it was going to happen.
As the episode got closer to meeting the amount, I was just like...
They just love watching the life leave your eyes.
Just suffering. But yeah, 30... No, we can't do 30 again. It has to be more than that. I don't want to do that haircut. That blonde, a guy, like, for a guy,
No.
I don't want the...
For bleaching, it was 20. So
Yeah,
they
I know,
got to
but-
27. 30 is what they'll need to get you to go orange, like...
I can't
Yeah,
do orange.
yeah.
I can't do orange. I will do blonde again. I will not
come
do
on.
orange.
We could get you a wig and then dye it, and you have to wear it for like a week. Worth of,
You're a
worth of live
slave to the
streams.
chat.
Oh my god, that
Yes.
offends. That is so offensive.
Hashtag triggered.
How
Hashtag
could you
offended.
How could you say that to me?
Bobcat said, Mary, I meant pizza. You went bad at places there.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I'm
Bobcat.
sorry.
I'm going back up to Bobcat's last chat. He said, he says, you don't need to be Jason Bourne to get into the Game Awards. You just need to have a large pepperoni. Maybe he meant a large pizza. Like, he means like you're a pizza delivery guy and you just sneak in.
That is not what you meant, Bobcat.
That is what he meant.
Go with that narrative. Waffle Sensei, he's just like, oh, he's 15.
Yeah.
Crap. How do
Yeah.
I go back on this? Waffle
Whoa.
Sensei said, is the changing of the name slaves an admission that they meant black people when they made the name slaves?
But they make the point in their original argument that it did not have racial context in its original.
Right, and that would stand now.
Yes.
So why wouldn't they stand by the name now?
Well, what if they were talking about this band name to draw awareness to childhood, the S-word slavery that kids are sold into literally all the time. We see that. We talk about child trafficking and stuff like that.
There are a
That's
million
form
different
of
things
slavery.
that it could mean. It could have like almost no connection to the institution of slavery to begin
In
with.
fact, I'm more offended by their lack of creativity in finding a way out of this.
Yeah,
And in
honestly,
coming up with the names soft play.
yeah,
Maybe they use one of those name generators. Like, I know Post Malone did that to figure out his rap name. He used a rap name generator to
like
come
a
up with his...
gamer tag generator, and then
Yeah.
it's like XX sniper underscore 420 X.
6969.
Yeah, 69. Yeah, we can't forget that.
Can't forget that.
Bad Up said, are we talking about the same band Slaves that goes by Rain City Drive? Johnny Craig was in Slaves and he is... I can't say that. Blank with the voice of an angel. I got the same confusion earlier, Bad Up. It is not the same Slaves as the one that had Johnny Craig. I almost lost my mind when I thought it was the same one, though.
See, what if they just get Kanye West to do some guest vocals and then it just goes completely...
wonderful.
That-
yeah,
just do
collab of the
That's
century.
gonna go well.
and Bad Up said they should change their name to Gimps.
But he is actually one of the people, before he went nuts, who talked about the mental nature of slavery, about how that slavery is a mindset in 21st century.
Do you think he's
America.
gonna go
Yeah.
back to music?
I hope he does.
I think that he will.
I
I think
he
that he's going to
What
in
I
like
wanted,
2 years.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted is like, look, great art is born out of conflict and struggle, and he's certainly going through something really, really crazy
Yeah.
right now. There's some amazing music could come out of all of this, and apart from disagreeing heavily with a lot of what he said, it doesn't mean I don't want him to make great art.
Right. I mean, this whole slave situation reminds me of what's going on with Dungeons and Dragons and a lot of tabletop games where we don't use the word slaves anymore because it's offensive and it bothers people. And they even put cultural teams behind the projects now to sift through all of their content, which is something that Square Enix also is doing with their video games. They have an like a diversity ethics committee that's looking at everything under a microscope.
This should be the most, if you're an actual creative, that should be the most offensive thing in the world to you. That they're there
It should
basically
be.
to moral
You would think
police
that
you.
these creatives would not want to work for these companies. I understand that it's good money, it's exposure, but at a certain point, don't you think that they would care more? That, wow, a lot of my creativity is being stifled at these companies. I think that it's time I go my own way and find a different project.
I think that the paycheck comes above all else. I think the security of it comes above all else. And also we do sometimes take for granted the fact that we are maybe not in an echo chamber, but we have our own view of the world that they might not share. They might not see those sacrifices as the same as somebody like you or I do. And that's, whether that's to their detriment or not, I can't say, but it does make sense that, people have different standards for what they find worthy of change and what isn't.
Yeah.
So. But as an artist, it should be offensive.
It should be for any artist doing anything. Basically.
Allow me to come in and play armchair quarterback for you and tell you what you did wrong. It's like that. Did I ever tell you the story? It's like a couple of different people covered it about this. She wrote a YA novel. And if you think comics are bad, if you think movies are bad, YA is a cesspool. And this lady basically wrote a book. It was like she was like a banker, and she wrote a book that got published, and it involved like she was from China. Her parents were from China, and it involved slavery in it. And she got such backlash from the YA community. Also be afraid of anyone who uses the term community, because they're about to culturally enforce something upon you because it's offensive to the community.
Right, you're part of the community or else you're a troll.
You wouldn't want to offend the community.
Right.
And basically they got her she canceled her own book because she didn't want to deal with the backlash of people saying you can't involve the theme of slavery in your own book because you didn't experience it. As if the people alive today experienced it.
Right.
Almost nobody has experienced slavery in the first world.
What they would say to her is that you, as somebody who was not a victim of, whose ancestors were not a victim of slavery or racial segregation.
Literally every person that walks the earth right now has ancestors that were enslaved. It's just that widespread.
Right.
But their argument would be that if you grew up in America, you weren't part of the demographic that was held back here in previous generations, whether it's through redlining, all various forms of government enforcement that did exist, but are now, aspects of the culture that are being put back into effect. Only they're going the other way, where they're getting rid of those standards at colleges so that they can openly discriminate on purpose.
Right.
So it's a weird world we live in, guys.
Yeah.
Does it ever feel weird to you that this stuff, that people take it so seriously anyways? Like that these are such culturally, maybe it speaks to the power of storytelling, to the power of art, that they've become these cultural touchstones, that so many people actually consider it a battlefield, that they have to argue with someone about tabletop gaming, about offending someone in tabletop gaming.
Yeah, if you think about it, it's all so insignificant when you put it in perspective. People just don't have community or family duties or religion to look to anymore for meaning, so they have to argue about Gamergate on the internet.
The kidification of our society, where they're just not. There's that great argument to say like women are becoming social justice communists because like they're not having kids, so they're sublimating.
They need something to do.
Speaking of extended adolescence, though, let's go to our next topic about kids' entertainment being adapted into horror films. The recent one we need to talk about and react to is The Mean One, a parody of the Grinch. Let's just react to the trailer because I love it.
I don't think we're going to get a copyright. I didn't hear any copyrighted music, but if we do, I'll clip it later. It is what it is.
Remember that story about Cindy you-know-who? When her Christmas was stolen, she knew what to do.
Why, Santa Claus? Why?
But what if I said that's not how it went down?
You gonna be okay? Because we can turn around right now.
No. That poor girl. Her mother was killed. Her mind snapped.
Did you ever find the Christmas killer?
Never got a reliable description of it.
Thank you.
It's gonna be quiet because
Merry Christmas!
sounds like it's in the show.
Yeah.
He's out there! What if the Christmas killer is back?
This town cannot go through another Christmas killer thing.
Christmas
Not
killer.
Us
Folks down in
Thing.
Newville, we liked Christmas a lot. But that thing that lives just north of Newville does not.
What is it?
The mean one. He slipped.
Look like an even older Jeff Fahey.
He's a mean one, that mister.
I'm not going to be a victim anymore.
Oh, she's not
Time
going
to
be
roast
a
this
victim
beast.
anymore. You're a dead one, mister.
They never say his name.
I
think it looks good.
I love it.
I like the line that's like, I'm not going to be a victim anymore.
Yeah.
Like in our society
It's
today,
kinda
that's
funny.
actually a bold statement.
Yeah.
In the world
It
we live in
is.
today.
I think that this is a great idea.
Yeah.
And all of these films that are coming out that are parodies that are more adult themed are really
Violent
good.
Night was good.
Yeah,
that was a
Violent
fun
Night.
watch.
They're
Violent Night was
doing
great.
Winnie the Pooh.
I'm
one
excited
of the
for
most
Blood and
Honey.
Honey. I'm really excited for Cocaine Bear. I'm excited for
Dude.
Bambi the Reckoning.
Yeah.
It's all great.
And Fairy Tale. What was the Peter Pan one? That's
Oh
the
yeah,
other
there's
one.
a Peter Pan one coming
yeah.
out as well.
Neverland Nightmare.
Neverland Nightmare. That's
Well, I
fun.
mean,
Like
wasn't
this
a
is
big
the
part
kind
of-
of entertainment that can bring everyone together.
Yeah.
It's apolitical.
Yeah, it's apolitical.
Yes.
It's also not part of something that's been politicized, like the tribal loyalty between different comic book universes that makes watching a simple superhero movie into some kind of act of defiance.
Right.
Does this mean I get to get like religious right people to come back and say this is? I want to think of the kids' arguments coming back from.
Well,
from
it
the-
kind of is. Some
my
people think you
goodness.
shouldn't be able to corrupt children's entertainment and children's stories into something that's more adult themed.
Honestly, I don't
Wasn't-
agree with that.
Wasn't much of fairy tales about getting kids to grapple with existential fears?
Yeah, fairy
Yeah.
tales for kids used to be extremely terrifying, and Disney was to blame for sanitizing them and making them softer.
Well, Disney
so now
did
this is just a
try
return
some
to what
of
they
them
were.
to make them darker, like Hunchback of Notre Dame. That one
That's-
was
yeah,
really
that's
dark,
one.
and then they faced so much backlash, and then they went, let's do fairies and butterflies and rainbows.
Were there any others that they
Also
like
sells
stayed
more
true
merch.
to that theme?
Um,
I can't think of any others.
I don't
though.
know, but
'Cause
they
all
did
of the
really try to
princess
push
fairy
that
tales,
movie.
like
Right.
Snow White, Little Mermaid, pretty much all of them
Yeah.
had darker themes in the original folk tales, and Disney was
Right.
responsible for basically memory holing
Well,
what
right.
those
I mean,
stories
look at
used
what
to
they
be
did
about.
to like The Little Mermaid and
Yes.
Cinderella, and how
Yeah.
brutal and dark they, originally were.
Well, I'm very excited for that new Little Mermaid movie. It's gonna be. It's
Oh,
gonna be a masterpiece. I'm
wonderful! It's gonna be amazing.
I'm
so important
Surely.
for representation of little
Yeah.
girls everywhere.
Well, the ginger side is continuing as we've learned.
Yes.
They also
I take that personally.
Yeah, and I took that personally. They make us some interesting correlations here, where they talk about it being part of the gritification of pop cinema. I'm not sure if I see it the same way, because I see the gritification of pop cinema. In this, they reference X-Men never putting them in their traditional costumes. They reference Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy being obviously far different than the Adam
Right.
West Batman era. Like, all of that's true, but
Yeah.
this is such a genre apart from
Yes.
this that I
Oh,
don't really.
yes.
It feels like a bit of a leap. It seems like more it's fitting into like, who didn't love the Leprechaun?
Right.
Huh? Let's go. Or Gremlins.
They're also saying this is part of an anti-nostalgia trend. I don't know if that's the case either, because people are really just tired of nostalgia baiting,
Yes.
where they take what you miss and then
Yeah.
defecate on it,
They-
basically,
Right.
and like ruin what you loved on purpose rather than parodying it in a more
Right. I think
creative
that
way.
things like this can work where it's very clearly a parody. It's not doing away with the old version of the character
Yeah.
you
It's
like.
not
It's
supposed
making
to.
something new that is similar and in
like
the same
the
realm.
live action Snow White, the live action Little Mermaid, we know are meant to
be different.
They're meant to erase
ruin.
the
Right.
last iteration of that character,
Right.
not make a parody of it.
Right.
I think parodies are way different.
Yes.
Also, like, and that is like, when you do genres like this, you don't have the cultural enforcement because it's not seen as the same level of cultural significance. Like, the reason they come for those, the reason they come for Disney, the reason they come for comic books is because they're absolutely essential to youth culture. Now, me and Mary go back and forth sometimes about it. Feels like the movies, like especially comic book movies, they're not for teenagers anymore. They're for guys in their mid-30s and people in their mid-30s.
Yeah.
I agree with that sometimes, though I do see plenty of kids. Spider-Man is universal.
Yes.
Kids of all ages love Spider-Man. But like the examples of nostalgia they give here are the rare examples of the ones that work, not the hundreds that are bad.
Right.
They mention Top Gun Maverick. They mention Ghostbusters Afterlife.
They're things that work.
Those are the ones that actually paid
Right.
homage to the originals.
Right.
Also, I told Mary this the other day. I think I realized the reason that I love Top Gun Maverick so much. I said, When was the last time that you watched a movie where a competent male lead who didn't get crapped on for being old or out of touch ended up getting the girl at the end and actually riding off into the sunset?
Right.
I don't remember the last time
Honestly.
it happened. Like, not in a cynical, like, it's the opposite of cynical.
Right.
They had Lady Gaga do like a soaring ballad for the outro of this movie, where in today's culture,
It's so sincere.
yeah,
It is.
In today's culture, I imagine that there was cultural advisors who were probably telling them, like, this won't resonate with people. People are only cynical and judgmental now.
Yeah.
No, that proves that that's not the way the world is. That at our depths, people want to aspire to more and to experience more, and you just don't get that from most of the culture because most people have given up on trying. Especially people that are in the arts and are extremely jaded. Imagine you have like 900 scripts turned away and everyone tells you your work is awful and then expecting sincerity and honesty.
Right.
It's a miracle that a Top Gun Maverick happened because they had such a golden opportunity to take that character and desecrate him and use a fish out of water storyline to show like, wow, he's so behind the times. He doesn't understand that like it's not cool to be racist anymore, Grandpa.
Right.
Like they could have totally done that and they didn't, and it's appreciated.
Did you see that Top Gun Maverick won the best picture by the National Board of Review for Film?
Good.
Like, so
I was like, the National Review, of course they did.
No, National Board of Review. So it was the #1 movie this year. So like, and it's like, I believe that the thing that's missing more than anything is sincerity. We lack sincerity. We talk
and
a lot
maybe
about
making parody films is part of that problem.
No, I don't
because
see it that way.
It is cynical to take a children's character and make it into a murderer. Okay, I get that,
but it's not being something. It's not trying to be something. It's
not taking what you loved and then ruining it.
A lot of, unfortunately, a lot of media is being taken and twisted around. I mean, as we're pointing out, movies, video games, manga, Western media is trying to demonize Japanese media like manga and anime because they can't control it. And to these creatives, it's all about control.
Yeah, from some of our commenters I've seen, like, they enjoy anime and manga because it's free from the tropes and expectations that Western media falls victim to so often.
Right.
And it's kind of the last refuge in their eyes.
Yes.
I think maybe that's why, like, so much of, like, when I talk about stuff that I like in movies, I can never actually put into actual words. There's an honesty, sincerity. I talk about charisma. I talk about, with female characters, there's warmth. Like, those are things that you understand as a human being, but can't really be measured outside of just interpreting it and how you perceive it when you see it on screen. And they don't shoot for that anymore.
They don't.
At all. Like, it is almost as if we've hit that stage where film is in its, like, I'm too cool to try stage. Like, they're like, the rejection has been too hard on them.
Right.
And they understand the cynical nature. And we've talked about this before. Like, you feel that Gen Z is more cynical than previous generations, or is that, would you say that's fair?
Yeah,
like,
more cynical, more nihilistic. Also on both extreme ends, at least of the political aisle, more polarized. Yeah. They're less in the middle, and they feel strongly about either extreme.
Here's the thing. I don't expect that when I say, like, sincerity, I don't expect these actors to be good people. I don't expect them. What I want is, like, can you fake it?
Right.
Can you at least produce
Fake it till you make it?
Yeah. It was all, I mean, I never believed that they were good people when they made movies like this good.
Right.
But what I believe is that there's a market. My cynical side says, you understand that there is a market for sincerity.
Right.
Be the capitalist I know you all are in Hollywood, no matter what you tell me. Be a capitalist, fulfill a need that people have. They want to see honesty, they want to see sincerity. And it's why the female lead trope doesn't work, because there's no vulnerability in those characters, which goes hand in hand with those concepts. Yeah. And it's like,
I'd take an Emily Blunt over a Jennifer Lawrence any day.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. In fact, that gives me a suggestion for one of these super chats later. Oh yeah. And so if you what horror film would you have Taylor Swift make then, or what parody film?
What existing horror franchise?
Or what childhood movie would we have her do? The Page Master.
Well,
I don't want Taylor Swift to make anything.
Nobody talks about that movie. That movie was good.
Great. fantastic.
We agree on a lot of movies here. Okay.
I don't know what movie she does. Maybe she does. Well, they did horror.
Why are you supporting this?
Because it's for the lulz. Like if it has to be.
I feel like she should take like a Disney princess and put a lot of femininity into a movie, but have the female lead be like just like a killer.
Yeah,
she could do it.
What if she went the total opposite way and made like a pro men movie where the girl's awful and the guy's the good guy and
I'd take that from anybody.
She's like, I'm subverting expectations, but the other way now. We're not going to subvert them.
Taylor Swift could make something good only if it's about her. So I believe in her just in that way. She's incredibly, she's incredibly articulate at showing her own feelings and her own experiences, but anything outside of that, forget it.
I got it. She can make Coyote Ugly too.
Coyote Ugly too,
because
don't touch Coyote Ugly.
I love Coyote Ugly.
Yes, but don't touch it.
Make Coyote Ugly.
I just watched Coyote Ugly for the first time the other week.
She just kind of disappeared.
She had an affair and cheated on her husband with Eddie Cibria. I don't know.
Vera, what is the appeal of Coyote Ugly for you?
I don't know. It's just fun.
I mean,
I don't know.
But like, I watched it for the first time after Brett constantly talks about it.
It's like raw.
I don't constantly talk about it, but I do love it.
It's like raw and flirty and fun. I don't know.
I mean, it's all right. I don't know. I don't really get the.
She is so sincere. She like the actress who plays Piper Perabo as that character is as Jersey is so sincere.
Well,
it's also got Maria Bello as the bar
it's
owner.
Definitely not bad.
No. And here's the other thing. Like a movie like that you couldn't make today. They would never allow that movie. They would never allow that movie to be made today. And let's that's got a very young Bridget Monahan in it, like very young Bridget. She's from John Wick. She plays John Wick's wife in the John Wick movies.
She is in that.
Like very young Bridget Monahan. She's the one who plays the lady who punches the guy. But like. There's just it's all sincerity and like I feel like that's missing because we don't live in a sincere society anymore. I think that phones and internet culture has made us naturally kind of averse to being open with people because
you can put online whatever you want people to see and then you don't actually have to show who you really are.
And I point that out when I was like, do you edit your photos? The second you edit that photo, even think about photos back in the day, you didn't take the photos of you, somebody else took the photo of you
and then you saw it on Facebook the morning after.
And it was
haven't experienced this myself because I was a child on Facebook, but that's like the common trope, and that doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
But I'm saying like you never looked at those photos that were taken of you in the moment and thought, ew. Like the moment was more important than how you looked in that photo.
And now it's the opposite.
Yes. And I feel like that is what's led to a lack of sincerity in our culture. It's also a traditional romance, a weirdly traditional romance story that doesn't, between her and the guy, that they just wouldn't do anymore.
Right.
So it's also got the funny comic book reference because she loses his issue of the Punisher to the bet. Yes, the movie's fantastic. I'm gonna get a Coyote Ugly shirt for myself. I'm gonna do it.
We need, Batman shirts.
Yes, and
that will
Coyote
be for the
Ugly
next. Shirts.
Let's go to Super Chats. Big Dave compared the McRib to the enchilito from Taco Bell. Haven't had one myself. Bad app, I'm not going to read that.
Of course.
Michael Hinton said, anybody remember when Prince wrote slave on his face back in the day? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Prince was
I don't remember
Prince was a game changer. Being a Minnesotan, you grow up with Prince. That's a very big part of Minnesota culture because he's from Minnesota. His studio is in Chaska, and he's kind of a big deal of First Ave, like a part of the First Ave music scene and that whole culture down there. Also one of those, a weirdly, like, it's funny because he was like very, very androgynous and had a very unique look before we put labels to all of that stuff. He was very ahead of his time in that respect because he was also religious.
Right.
His death hit a lot of my friends very, very hard. It was Mitch Hedberg that hit me really, really hard because he's like from my area. But yeah, Prince was a big deal.
Sad.
Waffles Sensei said, preach Vera. I'm a DM myself, and I would love to take on the D&D industry and unwokeify it. The art is dying, and modern material is turning to trash. I want to know what your opinion is on this new movie about Dungeons and Dragons that's coming out.
I'm all for giving things a chance, but I just don't see this cast. I don't know. A lot of them are larger. Like one of the Bridgerton stars is in it, and then Chris Pine is in it. We don't really know all that much about what it's going to be, and it looks like they tried to make it for, you know, younger audiences. And I'm worried about what narratives are going to kind of be pushing it with how woke WotC Wizards of the Coast has gone with Dungeons and Dragons. We don't know if they have any sort of creative control over it, but with the direction that, you know, Dungeons and Dragons has gone in over the past few years, and a lot of tabletop has gone in these past few years, it's very concerning about what will actually be in the movie. If it's just like a light-hearted action movie, I think it could be good, but I don't know. I mean,
very hard thing to translate to screen. Very difficult. I mean, you think video games are hard to translate onto screen.
They did that kind of with Free Guy.
But that's not based on a video game. That's that's just.
But it's still like the concept.
It translated internet culture, I feel like, better than just video games. Like it embodied kind of a lot of the aspects of internet culture. And would that be transhumanism even in a way? Like
maybe.
Yeah.
Uploading yourself.
Also, in 2012, there was a direct-to-DVD Dungeons and Dragons 3, The Book of Vile Darkness, which was pretty good. So I think that Dungeons and Dragons can be done on screen. I just don't know. Current day.
You don't have faith in
it.
I
just...
When you
hire
Chris Pine and you can't even get Chris Hemsworth,
and then they got the Bridgerton star,
Regé-Jean Page.
Yeah, and he gave that show up for this movie. I thought that was the dumbest move ever because he was on Bridgerton. People loved him on there.
Well, he did Gray Man with Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans, and he's in the running for James Bond. Yeah. There's also some crazy like rumors going around that I was seeing today that were saying that the conspiracies that they've already casted the next James Bond. They're just not telling us.
I don't think they have.
It's the guy who played Tangerine in Bullet Train, Aaron Taylor Johnson or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know if I buy that.
Yeah.
I say they just go with anyone but Cillian Murphy. Literally anyone but Cillian Murphy.
I wouldn't mind Cillian Murphy.
Dead Eyes. Can't
we'll
be
see.
James Bond.
Porco Rosso Forever said, Brett, got any weekend movie recommendations?
If you haven't seen Sicario, somebody mentioned Emily Blunt earlier, so therefore I referenced Sicario. What else would be good? I watched rewatch X-Men. Rewatch the first X-Men movies. Like that time period was great. Or even what would be a funnier one? Jonah Hex. Remember Jonah Hex from 2010? If so, there's a lot of great stuff. I find that if you want to go like Mob or something like that, Casino is really good. Or American Gangster, which is on Peacock. You can watch it on Peacock if you need a reason to watch Peacock. Yes, it's a thing.
Oh, too many services.
That's what I'm saying. They all need to just get bought up by one big conglomerate.
I'm usually not all for big purchases, but just maybe like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
You could bundle and use Amazon Prime to bundle most of them together, but then you can't use individual apps, and we all know how awful the Amazon
Prime, you can watch Rings of Power now.
Yeah, who does? Yeah. It was really funny. We were talking about Rings of Power last night, and we couldn't still can't believe that their big idea after a show that crowded was to say, here's 8 more people that we're going to hire for this show. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
I mean, hopefully that means they're getting rid of some, but still too many.
Yeah.
Johnny Derp said, sincerity, fake that and you've got it made.
See, fake it. Like, all I want is you to make. It's not even technically faking it. You're making a movie about something you may not.
Well, it's a
necessarily,
movie. Of course, you're faking it.
Yeah. Like, I miss it, man. Like, that was probably what it was. It was that end of that movie felt like I was waiting for something cynical to happen, and when nothing cynical happened, I was like, they're proving it's not that complicated. You can do this. Just do it.
Yeah. Beanbag Actual said, Mary, it was the Marine Corps in Avatar, not the Army. That sure does change the plot by a lot. That's
sheesh. I mean, we
might as well
watch it right now. I mean,
1,000 Foot Deep End said, nobody better touch the Page Master.
Yeah. It's one of those movies, man. People don't.
I'm side-eyeing you like
Yep.
you were the one who brought it up. You shouldn't give them any ideas.
Leave it alone, man. Don't even put that out into the
That
world
would be,
today.
I don't think that there's any way they could make that good today.
No.
I don't think so.
Such a unique time
It was.
in animation.
Carnell said, I hope you all do yourselves a favor and watch the trailer for Christmas, Bloody Christmas. Looks like a bloody good time. Also, hello, Vera Dark, sup, Mary, and hail, Brett.
Hello, and that's
Fun.
I haven't watched that trailer yet, so we'll have to watch
Haven't
that.
either.
Have you guys seen Violent Night yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I
Yeah.
haven't seen
It's
it yet, and I really want to go
It's
see
really
it.
good. It's okay. Incredibles. It's good. It's above average, especially given that like you don't go into it with this super you don't have to go into it with super high expectations because it's its own thing.
I've been itching to see it.
The only thing is, like, expect a panicky male lead.
Yes.
Other
Oh,
than that,
the-
I think it's good.
Yeah.
It's the movie holds itself on its own in spite of the awful characterization amongst the
Yeah.
male lead. But the little girl in the movie saves the movie, and David Arbor as Santa.
Yeah.
Matt said Bullet Train was a solid meh. Strong disagree there, Matt.
See,
Bullet Train was really good.
The review I saw last night was they said it ventured into the territory of like I only watch reviews after I've seen something, right? And he's talking about it. He goes, Bullet Train was it's reminiscent of the era of like Tarantino but not Tarantino movies that came out right after Pulp Fiction. Between like 96 and 2002. So it's a lot of like, it's a quirky bad guy. And it's hyper violence done with, with really fun tone. It's its own thing. But I thought that they could have cut out the Zazie Beetz stuff. That felt unnecessary to me. But in general, a movie like that where everyone's kind of the bad guy, I'm here for it. In fact, Brad Pitt was the least interesting part about that movie. But like you need him like that. He
was just there to show you everyone else.
But it's also it speaks interestingly to how important it is to be talented as an actor. Where he is the least important part of that movie, but it still fails if he doesn't do the job right.
Right, if he doesn't do it right.
Like he's like you need that person. Like somebody was saying that Johnny Depp was supposed to take that role.
Oh, interesting.
Before he got hired to do it because
no one
of
wants to hire Johnny now.
Well, they do.
Maybe they do now,
No, they
but
do.
not when they were making Bullet Train.
Yet Kevin Spacey's out here getting role after role. Like Italy's like, we'll take him.
Right.
He did what? Don't
Same
speak
thing for
English.
Amber Heard. I'm sure she'll find refuge.
Right, Johnny's
in the...
doing a French film right now.
Yeah,
but
Oh, okay.
So we're sending them our
I remember that now.
So all our actors that get in trouble, they're like those second place jerseys that go to like third world countries when a team doesn't win the World Series. We're sending them overseas. Is that what we're doing?
I mean, I hope that Johnny Depp will be getting roles in Hollywood again.
I hope he will.
I think he probably
I think
will.
that he will. I don't think that they're going to stay away from him for very long.
I mean, there was the rumor that Disney went and offered him like over what he joked about asking for, which was like, what was it, $301 million and 1,000 alpacas.
A large amount of alpacas. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Carnell said, you can try to resist, try to hide from my kiss, but you know that you can't fight the moonlight.
See, I'm partial to the other one from that movie, though Can't Fight the Moonlight is also very, very good.
That's a jammer.
She's my favorite part is still when she's like messing with like the iMac. Or with the iMac, and she's like, she makes her voice really high, and she giggles, and she's then suddenly really good at producing music. I'm like, yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, surely.
Like
that's
you, like,
it.
the guy's like, this is
that's
all you.
not
he's
suspicious.
like, this is all you need for music production. And it's
Yeah.
just
But it was 2001. What can you?
It was a color.
say?
It was
People
one of those,
didn't understand it back then.
It was those gel colored iMacs.
Yes.
So it was a different time. And let's face it, John Goodman even said when he did that movie, because I did it for the money.
Right.
Like, and also the friend, like I love that the friend is like perfectly cast as like the not as hot friend.
Yeah.
Like he's like,
And then she goes on later to say that she was fat shamed on set. Blah blah.
well,
blah.
Piper Perabo
course.
is tiny. She's like this.
yeah.
She's like this big.
And in the
tall
2000s, if you were even slightly overweight, I'm sure you got some pushback on that. Nowadays, I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
Bad App said, back in my day, we had to take nudes with a Nikon camera, plug it into your computer, upload to TinyPic or Photo Bucket.
Yeah, there's just people in like all over the world just terrified because they can't remember their Photo Bucket password, and they're like, I need to get those off there really fast.
Let me in.
That's I still have my Photo Bucket somewhere.
That's
I still have I logged in like a couple of years ago. Like
you better find that password, Brett.
It's all skating photos back when you didn't have like a storage elsewhere. You had to like post stuff there.
Caper2X said, Marines, Mary, no Army, a great weekend, PCC peeps. Why is it important that they were Marines and not Army, though? Like, does that change the plot of the movie at all?
In the military, I mean, the
What's the
branches of the
difference?
military have their own, conflicts with one another.
Relevant in whatever
To the
the
movie,
year
I have no
of
idea.
Avatar
Well,
took place.
He said they're what? They're Marines, not Army?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's Marines, the water. That
Wait,
makes sense. Navy SEALs, Marines. No?
Wait, what?
Could have been like Army, Navy. Like, no?
Wait, but why would that be important?
Marines
in the
work with the
Avatar
Navy. I thought the
universe?
Marines worked more frequently with the Navy. I don't know. I just it's just relevant, I guess. They just feel like it matters.
Right. Even though there were giant machines. to
Explain.
chop
Send
down
us more
trees
money and explain. I don't get it.
everything over.
Biddy Beastly said they're faking sincerity with the woke crap, as is evident in their IRL hypocrisy, and it shows how bad of actors they actually are. Faking sincerity with the woke crap. They're bleeding hearts, when it benefits them, but in all other situations, they're underhanded. Are you okay?
Yeah, sorry. So he says it should be Space Force.
That'd be good.
Oh, yeah. I was like, why would it matter who the Marines or the Army are in like the year 3000 something?
Did anybody watch Space Force on Netflix? I didn't watch it.
No.
I didn't watch it.
Yeah. I should. So I've heard. I've
It's
actually
one of
heard
those
that
shows that I always meant to watch, and I was like, I'll watch it soon. I'll watch it soon.
I don't really watch. I haven't really seen anything of Carell outside of The
Patient. The Patient was good.
I'm still through episode 3. I need to finish that this weekend.
Right.
I heard you said it picks up.
Yeah.
After
it
that
picks
sounds
up.
Good. Excellent.
I don't want to spoil.
Yes.
It does pick up.
We watched the first few episodes.
I didn't watch the first few episodes. I watched the first episode.
Oh, I carried on. I quite.
It didn't
enjoyed
really
It
draw
just-
me that
it,
much.
Didn't hold me in.
It's
though.
slow, but
Yep.
I mean, it clearly was supposed to be pretty slow, low budget. I mean,
Well, it's like a lot of single location.
Yeah.
Mostly all in the same place and
Yeah.
everything like that. Yeah.
Well, that's a wrap, guys.
Is that all of them? All right.
Don't you see that it's all of them?
No. I
don't
was,
you see?
I do now, guys. All right. Vera, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube, VARA Dark Titan Enterprises. I do gaming, live streaming, and entertainment commentating. I'm on Twitter, Minds, BitChute, Odyssey, Getter, all at VARA Dark or Vera_Dark on Twitter. But yeah, maybe I'll be back one day.
That would be
Of
good.
course.
We're gonna have shirts. We're gonna have shirts. Yes.
Batman shirts.
Batman Forever shirts. All right, Mary, where can they find you?
Thanks again for coming on, Vera. I really appreciate it. And you can find pictures of me on Instagram at Mary Archived. You can read my inane thoughts on Twitter, also at Mary Archived, and your daily reminder to go submit any pop culture crisis related memes or out of context clips, especially from this show, to our pop culture crisis subreddit, and we will react to them on the next meme review.
We must be like far behind. Like we got to catch up on we're gonna have to do a meme review soon.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
All right, guys. Again, like the videos, leave comments on the videos, subscribe to the channel, would you please? It helps us out a lot in the algorithm, and we appreciate it greatly. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic. I believe one more just came through. Mary, I will interrupt myself for super chats.
Caper2X.
Yep.
Mary, traditionally, Marines are more used in, I don't know what
Science
ESSA.
fiction?
Science fiction, because they are shipborne troops. Science fiction doesn't have ground troops. Didn't they wear masks in Avatar?
And they
though?
did have ground troops.
Yeah, they did
It
have
was
ground
mostly
troops.
ground troops, actually.
I remember that
So-
much from the movie, even
Right,
though it's
which
been
is
a
why
long
I think
time.
we all got kind of confused
Yeah, I
on
don't
the
know.
difference because there were ground troops.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I thought he was in special forces.
Special forces?
I
That
don't
might
know. That's what I thought.
that might be
Yep.
yeah.
Elaborate. Send us more money and tell us what you meant.
Guys, if you want to follow me on Instagram, at Brett Dasovic for the show, we are here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. I didn't say the wrong time today. That is fantastic.
Good for you,
Today
Brett.
was good.
Brain on.
So 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that is noon Pacific. We are also on Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, Pandora, and Spotify, if you would prefer to listen rather than watch. Some do. We are also on social media, Twitter, at PopCulture_show, Facebook and TikTok, at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram, at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We will be back with another episode on Monday. We'll see you then, guys. Later.
Bye.
Bye.